How do you do, fellow kids?
Let's check out the quote tweets. Y'all really bought that shit-butt-ass comic book, I'm crying. It's crazy people think this guy is anything but a libertarian scam artist. This is some of the worst paneling and framing I've ever seen. They break the 180-degree rule twice on the same page. How do you pull that off? The 180-degree rule states that you keep the camera on one side of the characters. Imagine a line through the center of the characters, and do not cross the line. The 180-degree rule is meant to help viewers understand where things are in the scene. They trying hard to defend this, talking about, bro, it's a perspective switch. Crazy how the guy that's only known for being a racist pick-me and complaining about woke Marvel and DC probably made the worst indie comic of all time. Y'all donated money to the guy that can't even choreograph a fight scene well in a comic book. Missing a whole-ass Clash panel. Character positions are inconsistent, which interrupts panel flow. No sense of movement, and everything looks still. Remember, this guy was going off on how crap other artists were, from people in the major leagues to small indie artists, and flaunting that he was going to be the next big thing. Alan Moore was right. If you want to get good at comics, you just have to find the most dog-shit comics you can get hands on. This feels like a fake comic you would see a kid read in some low-budget Hallmark movie. At least I'll always be a better comic creator than these idiots. This was the comic that was going to destroy DC and Marvel, by the way. I know some 10-year-olds who can make better paneling than this shit. So glad Isom sucks donkey balls so I can make fun of it. You want me to show y'all how to make one correctly? Not surprised they keep complaining about comics are dead when the story and art they writing feels generic and lacking in choreography. Eric needs to improve sooner. Otherwise, it'd be a fever dream to have long-term success. This is still the best worst fight scene in comic history. He has to talk shit on everyone else in order to try and build himself up, because he knows deep down he's a talentless hack. None of these grifters are any good. All their creative endeavors fall flat on their face and are quickly forgotten. Good.
All right, you assholes.
What do you think of this boner I got?
Fuck the diversity. You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life.
Do not post any hateful content or make hateful comments.
Oh boy. Nazis.
You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life.
You've got anti-woke everything.
You don't want to upset that fraction of the audience,
I know,
so you got to keep it loose enough.
You can pick up the softback trade paper.
Oh no, they become grifters.
It's about bad actors, acting in bad patterns and bad faith, exploiting bad systems to create bad pipelines and spread bad politics.
They created a pipeline.
One thing has become clear. This is the darkest, most terrible timeline.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I mean, they've always been wrong, but they used to have this veneer of personal fortitude, of some sort of internal strength, and now we cry because food too small.
Like, I don't get offended by shit.
We're talking about media literacy here, and to expose the people that are profiting off of like the culture war surrounding conversations and discourse about film.
They're like, oh, they're going woke. It's more like an MCU. Go get vaccinated.
Two people can be saying the same word and thinking almost completely different things. We're in agreement, right? We both hate wokeness. Well, this guy's thinking, I mean, I just don't like whenever they put Black Lives Matter messages in TV shows. And this other guy's thinking, I want to kill black people.
That's the first step in radicalization right there.
I could point out woke ideas in all movies.
Because you are threatening me here about what the reciprocation of conservatives, if us Democrats or progressives or queer people or whatever speak up about how we feel. You're gonna feel our wrath, you're gonna feel our fury. Okay, cool, bet, I understand that. And that just makes me want to fight even harder.
Young white males who are threatened by these groups. I think a lot of these guys aren't sure of their manhood because that's a problem when you're going through adolescence. You know, am I really? I mean, could I be? I hope I'm not one of them. And the women who assert themselves and are confident are a threat to these men. The there's a certain sharing of anger and rage.
Anti-woke everything. Let the culture wars work for you.
Hey, everything is woke and it's bad. Give me money. You hear me? You hear me, guys? Everything is woke. That makes it bad. Women are doing stuff. They're taking over shit. And the gays too. Therefore, give me money.
I'm looking at this image, and I'm sorry, Dane, you're pushing the round Earth agenda.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's
well, I mean, it comes down to one simple question, Bob.
What kind of American are you?
Oh dear. Hold on, Terry.
You'd think I'd do it better since I've been studying these guys so long. I'd be like a really good grifter. You would think, but no.
I don't think I would be a good grifter, just because a part of me would just not be able to sell it.
That's me. Yeah, it would be hard. I'd have to do everything recorded, and I'd have to carefully record each line, and make sure that I didn't start laughing or something trying to say that shit.
Yeah.
I don't sound fake.
I would sound fake if I were a grifter, though.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about. So it's the show proper, I suppose you could say, starts at 3 p.m. We got guests coming on. Dyad and the Force. It's a twosome. These YouTubers, live streamers, they talk about Star Wars a lot, and in a good way, in a way that's not terrible. And
so they talk about how Star Wars is woke and getting destroyed by the black people and stuff.
They talk about how they do a lot of. We'll look at some of their stuff in a minute or a little bit, but they managed to dispel a lot of the common narratives and stuff like that. And they just seem like cool guys. So when I reached out to him, the one that got back to me, he kind of seemed like I was told Bob yesterday. He kind of reminded me of when I first got in contact with Bob. Because it's just like this. Oh my God, there's somebody else out there.
You know what I mean? There's other people who notice how bad these guys are.
Yep. Woke doesn't mean anything, Mr. Anti-Idiotic. By the way, what happened to being ex-Punisher and doing all your stuff like you were doing your LARPing in chat the other day? What happened to that? Anyway, we got to talk about this diamond distribution situation.
Yeah, because all comic books are now going to flop because Diamond's collapsing.
They've ended, and they're destroying the comic book industry. I was just listening to Mr. Eric July and his chubby friend talking about this stuff, and I don't know if we want to watch any of it. We could go look at I know exactly the moment in the live stream that I would want to kind of just show a clip of. We'd have to go look at it, but when this guy talks about shit, Eric, he doesn't say anything. He's saying stuff it's all designed to make stupid people think he's saying something relevant. So he's these comic book companies wouldn't even be here anymore if it wasn't for the fact that DC and Marvel did these restructuring thing years ago or whatever. And it's okay, and they wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for these mega corporations that own them. Yeah, sure. Okay. What's your fucking point, man? What is this? That doesn't say anything. It's if things were different, things would be different.
Yeah. To me, it's kind of clear Diamond, they had monopoly. Mm-hmm. They had complete control. And over the past few years, they've been losing it. And I that's almost certainly has to do with why they filed bankruptcy. It's pretty simple, honestly.
Well, we could go. We could go watch if you wanted. If you guys really wanted to understand what's going on with that stuff. The oh God, the Saska twins are on this one stream that's on right now. Comic Tropes did a video years ago that breaks down the monopoly that Diamond still had at the time that he made the video, and how it became that way. Because there were other distributors at certain points, and that basically they just got went out of business or whatever, and then Diamond was kind of just pulled the Vince McMahon WWE and bought kind of went in all these other regions where there were distributors, and was yoink yoink, and made exclusive deals with Marvel and DC and stuff like that, to the point where they were just the only one left. And yeah, it wasn't great because for a lot of reasons, because they were the only game in town, and basically Marvel and DC was beholden to them. But then COVID happened, and first it was DC. I remember I made a video about it saluting. I was like, dude, this is fucking big news. This is like only the first domino to fall. If DC is breaking loose, it's not going to be long now. And sure enough, within a year or something, Marvel announced they were doing distribution with Penguin Random House, DC doing their own. The weird thing with DC is they decided to start doing their deliveries on Tuesdays, which is weird, you know?
To my understanding, they went back to Wednesdays, didn't they?
Did they? Okay.
Yes.
I
think that's more recent, but like, since I've been doing it, since I've been getting comic books, so like, I guess over a year now.
Okay.
Yeah. When I first started, they were Wednesday, and now, or they were Tuesday.
I'll admit,
since then, it's been Wednesday.
I haven't been into a comic book shop in quite some time. I buy digitally now.
I am so old school. Digital is so much cheaper, but yeah.
I did call a couple of comic shops yesterday, and I have recordings of those phone calls that I will play for us whenever we want to do that. Just I wanted to ask a couple of local shops like how this will affect them. And yeah, got some pretty enlightening answers.
Yeah, they're probably like, we're going to be devastated, guys.
Oh, wow. What? I mean, this is kind of not in the wheelhouse of what we're talking about, but is that real?
Hey.
I mean, good, man. If so, like, anyway. Yeah, we're going to talk about Skeleton Crew with those guys too here in about an hour. Or I guess about 45 minutes or so. I actually need to send them the link. We'll talk about Skeleton Crew, what their experience has been being a Star Wars channel that's like actually fans of Star Wars. And, you know, the future, the state of Star Wars, the future of it, see what these guys think. Because they definitely seem far more into it than I am anymore. Just, I guess maybe about as far into Star Wars as I am into Marvel lore. Might be appropriate to say.
I mean, I will admit I'm really behind on Skeleton Crew. I need to catch up for the podcast next week. But what I've seen, I like. So Neil is awesome, by the way.
And then we can talk about, you know, some comics if we want to. One in particular came out today that was pretty cool but upsetting to read. Oh, and then maybe wasn't there like a trailer or something?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen the Born Again trailer.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh.
I've not.
Do you think
I
we
got
get away
home?
with
I've read it's a dice roll of Disney. They're not going to take down the stream though. So worst case,
well, as long as they don't take down the stream, I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
they can do, you know. Cool. Well, let's check that out. For anybody that hasn't seen it, we can also pause it and discuss as it goes. All right, so here we go. Hey, look at those guys on Organized Chaos.
What? Oh, hey, that's a good channel.
Thank you for finding the time. I will admit, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again. A lot of time is.
So right there, like that's kind of compelling because like you remember the last time they saw each other.
I actually haven't seen season 3, so it's on the agenda to get caught up before Born Again.
I mean, I don't want to spoil it or describe it or anything, but I will just say that it's one of the most fucking intense confrontations ever. Just like once he finally gets to him and like, yeah, how he kind of beats him and stuff. Because spoiler alert, Daredevil does technically win.
No way.
Yeah. And he puts Fisk in a position where he like literally just has to stop being the kingpin of crime, which seems to maybe have backfired now because he's the mayor.
No.
Sorry, spoiler alert there, but like, yeah, this is taking some inspiration from recent Marvel comics where Fisk was the mayor for a while, and then also seems to be taking some from the Chip Zdarsky run, where it kind of starts off, and one of the first things that happens is Daredevil goes too far, and I don't know if it's going to be the exact same thing, but in the comic, he accidentally kind of kills a guy, and he just quits being Daredevil for a minute and has to wrestle with all that shit. And
villains becoming political leaders? I've never heard of such a thing.
it's not relevant or anything.
Yeah.
But let's see, we'll see if this is, because you guys remember back when She-Hulk came out, and you had RK Outpost and all these guys, and you're like, they're just ruining Daredevil, they're ruining this character just to make him a cartoon goofy guy on She-Hulk or whatever, and he's ruined now, and they're gonna make it, and the show's gonna be stupid and gay and woke and all, so like, let's see if those kind of claims bear any
by
fruit.
the way, he's scored with She-Hulk, which is pretty awesome in my book.
He did the best walk of shame ever.
It's like, fuck yeah.
Except he wasn't even ashamed. He was kind of proud.
No, that's
just
fuck
he was
yeah,
man.
Okay.
All right, so let's see how this looks compared to what those expectations or those predictions were.
Past. By the look of it, you've come up in the world.
I could say the same about you.
The mayor serves his city. I can see you're not entirely convinced.
Can you blame me? I can't shake the feeling that you're gaming the system.
What?
Why did you stop being a vigilante?
The line was crossed.
It's hard to come to terms with a violent nature. Hating the power it has over us.
This city can't go unchecked.
So yeah, that's what is kind of funny about this, is that season 3, the plot was pretty directly based off of the Born Again comic, but this is titled Born Again and it's based off of other comics. No big deal.
That happens lots of times.
Yeah. I mean, in context of the MCU and him, I'm sure that this storyline also is worth having a Born Again storyline. But yeah, having basically, like, especially, I guess, was it toward the end of season 3 where he, gets found by the nun, or maybe it was toward the beginning. Yeah, it was the beginning, I think, because it took place after Defenders.
Yes.
Yeah, he gets found by the nun, and spoiler alert for who the nun is. Turns out to be his mother, and that is from Born Again, the graphic novel.
I mean, they will frequently. I mean, they haven't hidden the fact that they will take names just because they think it's appropriate. Born Again obviously works because the series is a soft reboot. It's
going to be really cartoony and woke and silly. He's going to be such a silly character now. Watch, just wait till.
I mean, just like they neutered Deadpool in Deadpool 3. Like that was, I can't believe they PG Deadpool.
He's wait till you hear some of these silly jokes, guys. You can't even fucking believe.
Sometimes peace needs to be broken. And chaos must reign.
Am I putting the hatchet down?
Okay, so I'm going to be frank. You can.
Oh, I see what you did there.
You did that. I'll be frank. No, so I think I'm of the opinion, I've decided this, that I don't believe that the Punisher should really almost never be depicted unless he's alongside Spider-Man or Daredevil. I think that's the most responsible way to utilize the Punisher, because otherwise I think it's easy for dipshits to, take things the wrong way.
Yeah.
Fascists. But honestly, he's a great character whenever he's contrasted with Spider-Man or Daredevil. With Daredevil, it's a little more serious, but imagine a similar thing with Spider-Man. It could be more funny, like Spider-Man's a little bit more lighthearted in tone, but he's always like, I've always loved the comics where they team up and Punisher's like got his guns and he's going to shoot somebody, and Spider-Man spends just as much time trying to stop Frank from fucking killing people as he does, fighting bad guys himself.
I mean, always remember his first appearance was as a Spider-Man antagonist.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, maybe not in the way where like they turned him black and put him with Luke Cage. Maybe not that way. Oh dear. All right.
I was raised to believe in grace. But I was also raised to believe in retribution.
That looks fucking awesome.
So silly and lighthearted.
Oh yeah, it's such a goofy show. Well, I mean, that's what the Daredevil on Netflix was, though. It was a lighthearted, goofy show.
I mean, no, I don't. They probably won't. I mean, because Marvel hasn't been able to make it stick in the comics either. So
it's I'm not a huge I'm not used to wearing a hat. I just love this hat I got for Christmas. But
what hat is that? What does it say?
It's just a Niners hat.
Oh.
Yeah, they've not been able to get the symbol to stick. I'm not a huge fan of the symbol, but like their big reason for changing it is because you just have dipshits using it essentially.
I mean, it seems they lost control over it. They let cops and fascists kind of just take that symbol for themselves, and there's really no getting it back at this point. It's basically as lost as a swastika to me. Oh no, maybe not that lost. Okay, I guess I don't mind seeing Frank wearing it here and there, but like I wouldn't mind him wearing the swastika. That would upset me. Anyway, so Daredevil Born Again, March 4th, looking good. Let's check it out when it comes out, and we'll probably discuss it here. I'm guessing they're going to do weekly releases, right? Yeah.
I don't think they've announced what they're doing with it. Because I remember looking it up on the podcast.
But I mean, like
when I was trying to play on a podcast, and I don't know.
That's what it was before, right? But like, I don't know. Even if I ran a Buddhist temple, I still wouldn't want to put one up in mine. I know that it meant something before that, but that's what fascists do. They steal things and they make them worse and terrible.
Yes.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, they can't create anything worth a damn, so they just steal shit.
So, I kind of do want to just check out like a couple of seconds of this Eric July stream. If it's over, then I can find where he was saying what he was saying. Yeah, it's over. Okay, so it was about 13 minutes in that he was saying this dumb shit. Let's see.
Through their network. But he says, earlier today, Diamond made the difficult but necessary decision to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This step is intended to stabilize our financial foundation and protect the most vital aspects of our business. This decision was not made lightly, and I understand that this news may be as difficult to hear as it is for me to share. The Diamond leadership team and I have worked tirelessly to avoid this outcome, but the financial challenges we face have left us no other viable option. Chapter 11 will provide us the opportunity to restructure and address our financial obligations. This process will likely include the sale of key assets, which is interesting, of Diamond comic distributors. We have already received
bankruptcy. Yes, they do that. And then,
of course, to purchase Alliance Game distributors, coupled with a signed letter of intent to purchase Diamond UK, which may impact ass.
Refinance when for the last 15 odd years, they've just been in consistent financial shit.
Restructuring, shifting.
Shifting, trying to sell off, refinancing,
Right. Right.
Talking.
2000
of intent to purchase Diamond UK, which may impact ass. And we remain committed
to be buying fucking mainstream comics.
Well, that's also true. Committed to pursuing offers for all Diamond lines of business. What does this mean for you? I want to reassure you that with secure financing in place to support our operation, Diamond Comic Distributors is committed to continuing business as usual.
Sorry, hold on.
Yeah.
What year was this letter written in? 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. This is the history of fucking Diamond since God knows when. For the last 15 odd years, they've just been a consistent financial.
Huh?
I don't think that's true at all.
No, Diamond's had monopoly on the business for a while.
You don't have a monopoly and struggle in a business. Those two things don't equate.
Yeah.
Fucking
Mr. Softback trade paper here.
I'm wondering if they're even mentioning who Diamond no longer distributes for, because it is extremely fucking relevant. And I'm wondering if they just don't even mention that shit. You know?
I mean, actually, here I can.
Shit.
Just got this book today.
Yeah, restructuring.
Oh, I just got this book today. Doctor Who #4. One of the few books I get that is still distributed by Diamond. This book was over a month old. They are not. Huh?
Like they were behind. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So for anybody, we got 36 people watching now. For anybody that's unaware, as Morgan said, Diamond had, and like I said before, there's a Comic Tropes video that lays all this out, how it became a monopoly, how it stayed that way for a long time, up until 2020, I think it was 2020, when DC walked. Because, with all the industry going through, with every industry going through what is going through during COVID and shit, DC said, you know what, this is our time to just fucking break free from this. And it was a good move, seemingly. They broke free from Diamond and said, we're going to do our own distributing. Within a year or so later, Marvel, same thing. They partnered with Penguin Publishing. So they distribute their own shit now, both of those. And guess what? Those are you look at the sales of the comic book industry, and they are, mainly it's Marvel. DC is second, even though they're lagging behind pretty far from Marvel.
DC is picking up a bit with the absolute titles, but
that's great. But those two make up the vast majority of comic books sold in the U.S. and through comic book stores, anywhere else. And so for those two to walk, that was essentially the writing on the wall for Diamond, because, and you know what, let's just go ahead and hear these phone calls that I made. So in case you missed the setup, I called a couple of local comic book shops yesterday, and here is the recordings of that. Hello? Hi, my name is Dane, and I'm doing a report on just kind of the state of the comics industry and everything, and with the news today that Diamond is filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I just wondered if you guys might have any comment on that, or how it might affect you, if at all.
No comment on it, really. It doesn't affect us as much because we've been going to different distributors, so.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been gathering from others as well. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye. Hi, my name is Dane, and I'm doing a report on comics and the state of the industry. And with the news today about Diamond filing Chapter 11. And by the way, that first one that I talked to was called Books with Pictures. They're a local Portland shop that caters to, if any chud saw this comic shop, they would think it's the wokest comic book shop ever. They cater almost more to kids and LGBT people and female readers and stuff than they do. They got the superhero stuff, it's there, but it's not the majority of the story like most comic book stores. They have all kinds of programs for reading with kids and stuff like that. I bet they even have a drag reading thing or something too. Dun dun dun. Yeah. The Books with Pictures, if anybody wanted to check and make sure I'm not fucking falsifying these calls or something, right? You can call them and ask them. And then this one is Cloud9 Comics. No, I'm sorry, Cosmic Monkey Comics. I just want to see if you guys had any comment on that, or if it'll affect you at all.
It's going to affect everybody, but
sure.
We've moved a lot of our stuff away from Diamond, but we still get stuff through them. There's companies that are exclusive, like Dynamite Distillery, Titan. I can't remember. There's some other.
Dynamite and Titan are the two that he could remember. I'm sure there's a couple of others, but they're very small publishers. Not to say they're not worth considering or anything, but I'm just saying that the degree to which this Diamond thing affects comic books, mainstream comic books, is almost nil.
Yeah.
The only things that really, as he says in a second, is the Previews magazine, which is what comic shops order their comics through. They get the Previews magazine, seasonally, I think it is, and I don't know how much ahead of time, but it shows everything that's going to be coming out from all the publishers. Here's what they're planning, and then that's where they decide, oh, I'm going to order this many copies of this because my clientele will want to read this, or they won't read this, or whatever. And yeah.
So we still get those comics through them, and the Previews catalog comes through them. So we're always that's helpful for selling stuff.
Well, it sounds like they're going to try and set you guys up before before anything major happens, is from what I read. But
and filing for bankruptcy like that usually takes like a year to 2 years to sort itself out.
Sure.
So and they're going to keep working while they're selling off Diamond UK and Alliance, but it's going to keep. They're still going to hopefully keep doing stuff. Sounds like that's what they say. They're going to work through it.
Alrighty. Well, I mean, thankfully, at least the big two aren't with them anymore. I guess that's kind of the problem for them, but still,
Yeah.
Yeah. But all right, I appreciate your time very much. Have a good day. There you go. Some actual journalism work I did there, because that's what, and I knew this is what they were going to be doing, was whinging over comic shops more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, they just, as we saw, like, what was it, last year, whenever that guy went viral, and then suddenly Mark Millar was in on everything, and
yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember that guy going viral, and it was,
and they act like they give a shit about comic shops. And look, comic shops do close. They do.
Yes,
and
they do.
However, sometimes they open up too. Other ones open up. And at the same time, brick and mortar shops close a lot these days.
Yeah.
Any kind of brick and mortar.
Bookstores in general close
in general. Like, you have to be willfully ignorant or dishonest to not see that these things are not in a vacuum. If your mind is literally just like, comic books are woke and have agendas now, DEI, therefore comic book shops are closing, you're just a dipshit, or you're dishonest.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Absolutely. I mean, it's weird. It's all closing down, because I was about to say, it used to be you couldn't walk into a mall without seeing a bookstore. And now it's tough to even find a fucking mall. Brick and mortar is suffering. It's an issue. Amazon's undercutting everybody, and it's Amazon's even a weird business model.
That's this too, Screwface, and it'd be the same exact thing, because I think they even complain about it in the stream, how comic shops they got so much other crap they sell now. And that's true. A lot of them, Funko Pops have kept some comic shops afloat, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but it's the same thing with video game stores. You can't find them really anymore where they're like not also selling other shit, because they're just doing what they have to do to survive. And it's not, this is the grift, is because of this changing state of consumption of media and things like that, whether it's video games, movies, comics, because of that, and you have a influx industry, all three of these are in flux. It's a grifter's playground, because they can go to ignorant people, or people that want to believe certain narratives, about queer people or whatever, and then they can just say, yeah, it's because of that. It's like, never mind the fucking chaos of the industry that's going on right now. Never mind COVID. Never mind, all this other shit. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, like I brought this up before, but this is based on just going to a comic shop. If I had to guess, market share, essentially, I'd guess Marvel's 40-45% in market share, and DC's probably 30%, and the rest is everybody else. And even everybody else, everybody else isn't even all on Diamond, because Valiant isn't on Diamond, Image isn't on Diamond. And it might, this is probably part of why Diamond's filing for bankruptcy. Lots of, and honestly, I think it's a good thing. And honestly, I think Diamond, I'm not saying Diamond should die, but I think, obviously they need to scale back and work on actually, just being a better company, honestly, because having a monopoly is bullshit, in my opinion.
Sorry, I'm sending a link to these guys.
Oh, it's all good. I didn't think about that. I should be. But
yeah, it's
I need rub spot because I've never done that with him. I don't know if he likes it. I don't know if he'd like it.
What's that? Oh no, you know what? Gordy likes whenever he doesn't always want it or always want to let me do it, but like when he gets in a certain mood and he's all cuddling up on me, I can grab his head basically for like put the palm on his head and then my fingers cover his face and just do this, and he's just like, oh, he'll start purring so fucking loud. I'm the only one he'll let do that. So yeah, they care about that? Probably not. No, they only care about what they can grift about. And I just wanted to get a little bit more into this because this right here is where I started hearing them say this dumb shit. I mean, they're already saying dumb shit, but
shifting, trying to sell off,
shifting. They're shifting. You hear that?
Yeah.
They're shifting. They're probably shifting their softback trade papers too.
True.
Sing da da da.
Right. And they say our plan is to continue fulfilling orders in a complete and timely fashion, and we are working hard to minimize any disruptions to your orders. We'll be transparent as possible during this process, and we'll keep you informed of significant developments, which there will be more of those. And if you have some questions, blah, blah, blah. Basically, with Universal having that, I have committed to that, and as well as them
live chat panels they won't let me look at the live chat because I had talked some shit in there. That'd be fun to see again. Anyway.
Stating that they are going to be looking for other aspects of their company and assets that are associated with Diamond to be basically sold off. So for sure, it's going to impact you. They can say that they're going to continue, which is the best thing for them to do, as usual. But that could absolutely be disrupted depending on who buys what and what assets belong to who. So it's going to be a fundamental change. Okay.
Did anything he say there make any specific sense?
I mean, it seems like he's trying to imply that it's going to affect you. It's like, well, I mean, it's going to affect probably my Doctor Who comic book reading.
Well, I mean, yeah, you heard the second guy in particular said it's going to affect everybody, but like the thing is to such a small degree that it's like they don't even really care.
Yeah,
this is like, oh, that's something. 3 years ago, or I'm sorry, like I guess 5 years ago, this would have been extremely disruptive to the industry.
Yeah,
if it somehow, but they couldn't have happened. That's the ironic. They couldn't have happened 5 years ago because they still fucking had Marvel and DC. That was their lifeblood. They lost them because they were fucking shitty company to, Marvel and DC got their stacks up and corporate backing, and they're like, you know what, we'll fucking do this ourselves. Eric July should understand that. They let's just say this. They decided to rip us into it.
I mean, it really seems like Diamond essentially, got full of themselves because they did have a monopoly. And then, when they started losing it, they seemed like they were still going business as usual, which is why probably a lot of the orders ran late and shit like that. And it caused other business to go, I don't want to work with you. Oh.
They don't allow returns, which, I don't know if Marvel and DC independently are doing anymore. I know that there are some titles that, they have offered returns on. I would be better if they were able to do that line wide. But if you're not aware what that means, it's like, so for the longest time, the process was in the comics industry was you would order a bunch of comics. If you're a comic shop owner, you'd order X number of this title or whatever, thinking that's going to sell this much, and then sometimes they won't sell that much, and then you're left with a bunch of books you can't sell, right? And so for the longest time, what they would do is they were able to send those books back. They would return them. They'd have to like tear the cover off. For whatever reason, but like, they could send them back and shit, or and then basically they stopped doing that. And now, or at least with Diamond more recently, they did no returns. So if you just, order wrong, and it's basically a gamble, as a comic shop owner, like, oh, I'm gonna order this much, and it's like, oh, I fucking gambled wrong, and now I'm stuck with a stack of shit I can't sell. But who's not stuck with a sack of shit he can't sell? Eric DeBunks.
Not currently.
Subtle.
Were you guys watching a clip? I kind of just saw a little bit when I came.
Yeah. Let's listen to this business acumen on display.
Fundamentally, it is going to be a change, and I think that's worth discussing. Now, the reason why I wanted to the show is going to be heavy on this topic because this means a lot, obviously, for who they distribute to. Most of that being comic book shops. Now, if you don't mind me having the floor here for a little bit, because I got to break.
You go for it.
I got to break.
I'll
break
just
a lot
see how
down.
my football team's doing.
Yeah, do that. Perfect. So I've been on record. There's a video that I did end up resharing, where I discussed a lot of this, where the economic illiteracy of the comic book industry, I think is the name of it, something like that.
Yeah.
It never made sense, and it was always on a house of cards. Anybody that says that
his video never made sense.
What?
I think he said that he made a video on the economic literacy of the comic industry, and it never made sense.
Is lying. Okay. When it exists for so long, Az brought up a great point earlier when he said this.
Okay, guys, I really want you to pay attention to the words he's saying, and when he's done, whenever we stop, I want you to tell me what you gained from, like, what understanding, what logic, whatever. What did you gain from what he said here?
Always been this constant shifting and moving stuff around. You're put under the illusion that it's working for a couple of reasons. It exists, right? And while that is the case, you were spoiled, and had it not been for who went through their own set of like restructuring and everything, the big two, this whole thing would have collapsed a long time ago.
If things had been had gone differently, things would have been different.
Well, what I almost feel like he's trying to say if Marvel and DC had stayed with Diamond won't be filing for bankruptcy. And
I don't think he's even trying to say anything that specific, man. I think because he mentions the corporate.
Well, I mean,
ownership.
I will say, if that's his point, hard disagree.
Yeah.
It gave you the illusion that it was working when it was always on a house of cards in the first place. And it's not just pertaining to distribution. It's the industry at large. Okay. Right. Because none of it ever made sense. In fact, Marvel and DC being associated with who they had been is not just, Disney. They had been going through. I mean, obviously, look, let's take a step back. A lot of people forget in the 90s, Marvel went bankrupt. Or was
we didn't forget that. Nobody forgot that.
Yeah.
Nobody
forgot that.
Very common thing. Anybody that gives a shit about even the MCU, because the MCU's story is directly born from that fact. And the fact that they had to sell off all their assets, and that's why Iron Man was the first movie.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the biggest issue in the 90s was the shipping of comics. I think it was
it wasn't. Absolutely wasn't.
It really was the idea that comics were now collectibles and they lost value because they were overproducing comic books. That was the problem.
I mean, they shipped the fuck out of those overproduced comics. You know what I mean? Like they were. I don't think there was any real problems. They were.
So if he were not being deceptive or either stupid, or a little bit of both, he should know that as someone that was collecting comics back in the 90s and runs a business with comic books now.
I'm going to run this back because when he starts saying it and stuff, and it's like, what is he even referring to?
Well, he doesn't finish a thought. He keeps stopping. He'll go, and the problem. Well, you know what? The thing is, he doesn't finish anything that he's saying.
We're spoiled, and had it not been for who went through their own set of restructuring and everything, the big two, this whole thing would have collapsed a long time ago. It gave you the illusion that it was working when it was always on a house of cards in the first place. And it's not just pertaining to distribution. It's the industry at large. Okay. Right. Because none of it ever made.
So explain what doesn't make sense. Then that's the next thing. You should explain what you mean.
Yeah. It's and for anybody that isn't aware why he does this, it's because his entire goal is to create, the Rippaverse as just an alternative, parallel
Amazon shipping for comic books. That's what he wants it to be.
Yeah,
he wants to have he wants to take money away, and I can prove it. I'll pull up the clip in just a second, but
with who they had been, it's not just Disney. They had been going through. I mean, obviously, look, let's take a step back.
See,
a lot of people forget
again. Didn't finish what he was saying,
or was about to.
Yeah.
Okay, it was 97 if I'm not mistaken. Okay,
no,
Boy Biz kind of stepped in, Pearl Mutter, all those guys saved their asses.
No, you fucking
What?
idiot!
What?
Buying Boy Biz was part of the problem.
Oh my God.
Toy Biz buying
Like
them. Like, all of that restructuring that he fucking, I guess that's what he was referencing. Jesus Christ, man. Okay.
So that wasn't that long ago. It's in most of you guys' lifetimes. Okay.
Long ago.
We
yeah.
know with Warner,
30
their
something.
constant restructuring, right? Once between that AOL, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. It was a
just referencing terms.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like,
there's no. He's not making any points. He's
not saying anything.
stuff.
Yeah,
Right. He's just saying random things.
No through line. It's just saying, AOL, because I know that AOL is all connected in there too, and I know that Toy Biz had something to do with it, and Perlmutter, and I mentioned them, and then to an idiot, they think because I'm mentioning these terms and these names that I'm saying something.
Listen, Marvel filed for bankruptcy in the 90s, and then Warner Brothers has been restructuring.
Well, because of
And then
AOL,
Marvel has
and then
been
you have Perlmutter in there,
X-Men to
and
Fox.
But
And then
hold on. Then you
Spider-Man
got,
goes to Sony,
then
and
you
then
got the Clone
Batman
Saga,
is Warner
okay?
Brothers.
And then then you had Onslaught was in there. He came along, and you had Heroes Reborn. And then then
punches
started.
Juggernaut in the face.
God damn it! Oh, I'm never gonna be able to. I'm gonna have to work on like an impression where I can pull up some write up some kind of thing that's like him saying shit. Oh my God!
A lot of restructuring that they've done over the years, as well. And DC's been maybe tied to it longer, but if they had not been attached to these mega corporations, the comics, I'm not speaking to other things, would not probably existed. Okay.
What does that have to do with anything? See, that's the closest thing.
But Dane, if anything, that just goes against what he's talking about, because he's saying that if these mega corporations did not support these brands, no one would know about these brands. So he's arguing that in order for a brand to be massively successful, it needs a mega corporation. That's the statement he's making here.
Famously, because Marvel was like a nothing brand, Disney bought it for like $5, right?
Right.
They didn't spend billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars, right?
Now I want to play this clip here to back up what I was saying as far as like why he's doing this. Why does he feel it's so important to get on here and just say nonsense, whether he knows he is or not? I kind of don't think that I don't know that he does really know. He just knows these terms loosely, and he's been doing it long enough that he knows he can just kind of fucking yap and throw out terms and sound like he knows what he's talking about. But check this out.
Got work to do. Like tanking on one movie, that's not enough. There's power in the customers, but customers have to have some sort of awareness, self-awareness, as far as what you maybe contribute to this. Can you replace that Disney thing that you rely on to have a good time with something else? I think you can.
That's him admitting it right there, that's his whole thing, is like, I want to replace the shit that people are buying, partly because it's woke or whatever, but really just because I want to make more, I want to make the money.
Just say that though. If you want to be a competitor to somebody business wise, just say that. Why do we need all of these like roped around, beat around the bush type shit?
Well, we'll just check out another minute here, and then we'll bring on our guests here in a second.
All right.
Some Star Wars and shit.
Okay. I think for a long time it made sense for them to stick around. It was a source of material for them to do other stuff with that they could make money off of, right? But don't for once think that a lot of these comics have been profitable, okay, for the publisher. That is, maybe there are outliers, the Batmans of the world for sure, but for the most part, it's not like they're just rolling in dough versus what they're spending versus what they're getting back. It's just that it had been tied to this mega corporation for a very long time. 2020 happens.
What does this mean to anybody?
Pandemic thing.
What does this mean to any person? To anybody? What does this
mean to the fucking Diamond distribution thing? Because he's talking about Marvel and DC, who haven't been with them for at least 4 years now.
Right.
They haven't been distributed by them. So like, he's just yapping nonsense.
Isn't Diamond primarily doing indie stuff now?
So did you hear the? I'll play him again real quick because I made a couple of calls.
I mean, they have a couple of companies, but like, most
Dynamite,
companies are not with
and then
Diamond
like
anymore.
Titan, and it's, some kind of small books, which
but not the big two, right? Not Marvel and DC.
No,
right? Yeah.
Check this out.
Oh yeah, this is a Titan.
Hi, my name is Dane, and I'm doing a report on just kind of the state of the comics industry and everything. And with the news today that Diamond is filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy, I just wondered if you guys might have any comment on that or how it might affect you, if at all.
no comment on it, really. It doesn't affect us as much because we've been going to different distributors, so.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been gathering from others as well. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye. Hi, my name is Dane, and I'm doing a report on comics and the state of the industry. And with the news today about Diamond filing Chapter 11, I just want to see if you guys had any comment on that or if it'll affect you at all.
I mean, it's going to affect everybody. But,
Sure.
I mean, we've moved a lot of our stuff away from Diamond, but we still get stuff through them. There's companies that are exclusive, like Dynamite Distillery, Titan, I can't remember. There's some other ones too, but so we still get those comics through them, and the previous catalog comes through them. So we're always that's helpful for selling stuff.
Well, it sounds like they're going to try and set you guys up before before anything major happens. Is from what I read, but
and filing for bankruptcy like that usually takes like a year to 2 years to sort itself out.
Sure.
So and they're going to keep working while they're selling off Diamond UK and Alliance, but it's going to keep. They're still going to hopefully keep doing stuff.
I was going to say, it doesn't mean they're closing shop. Or
alrighty.
Like
well, I mean, thankfully, at least the big two aren't with them anymore. I guess that's kind of the problem for them, but still,
Yeah.
But all right, I appreciate your time very much. Have a good day. So yeah, literally the thing that he's not telling, and he's technically just overtly lying by omission. Marvel and DC aren't with him, which is the reason they ended up in this position. Diamond.
I mean, he's talked about how Batman, it's not selling enough. It's like Batman has nothing to do with Diamond anymore. Batman's DC, buddy. Man.
I hate to correct you on fucking Air July, but he was actually right in saying that Batman does sell well still, is what he was saying. But that's partly because DC.
Well, I mean, I wasn't saying it wasn't, but I'm
sorry.
It's not Diamond, and I don't know why he's bringing it up. Absolute Batman.
Let's fucking switch gears and start this show proper with our guest from the YouTube channel, Dyad in the Force. We got Element and Choco.
Hey.
How's it say, Choco? How you guys doing?
Go, guys.
Yeah.
Doing all right. Sorry, having a couple of technical issues here that I'm resolving right now.
Oh, good. Well, we can hear you just fine, I think. So everybody can hear me.
Yeah.
Oh, you can hear me fine. Perfect.
So I'd encountered you, and several people had messaged us saying hey, you should get these guys on because you're kind of a diamond in the rough when it comes to YouTube channels about Star Wars these days.
I appreciate you guys having us on.
Let's see if I can turn you up a little bit, Element. All right. But how long you guys been doing this podcast? Is it a podcast you consider it or just stream?
Our weekly show is a podcast. It started in what's it, 2019, 2020? It's been almost 4 years now.
All right. So this is one that stood out to me because it's not super popular to go against this guy on YouTube.
It's not, no.
Well, I mean, you get comments with the most logical, insane things being said.
It can be kind of dangerous to go after this guy because as a Star Wars Explained learned, I guess, but
it's he and that whole situation was just utterly idiotic, and I can't believe it was even a thing. It was a complete non-issue, but it's crazy.
Yeah, Theory has been the face of Star Wars YouTube for a while now. And I remember when we both Chaco and I used to watch him, when it was lore videos and it was theories.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was this sudden shift from I liked The Last Jedi. This is how I feel. And The Rise of Skywalker was good. If I were to rate the sequel trilogy, it'd be 8. And then I don't know when the shift happened specifically, but it was just, parroting everything, all of the hate, all of the talking points. And then just, recently, every single new project has been subject to the most ridiculous surface level criticisms ever,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's we kind of did a little bit of deep diving on this guy a while back. I've got some clips here. Like, this was pretty revealing, and this is, thankfully somebody sent me this stuff. I would have never known this stuff existed, and somebody emailed me some of these clips. It seems pretty clear that, to me anyway, that once he started getting involved with these guys, Fandom Menace guys, Geeks and Gamers and Nerdrotic and stuff, that he something started changing. You know what I mean? But like, what's really egregious about these clips here is how he both wants to be part of it, but not their group or whatever. But he also doesn't want to be seen as the same as them, basically.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the Acolyte poster?
I think it looks like somebody's having their period and they just decided to wipe it right by that lightsaber. I feel like there should be like I think it just means there's gonna be a lot of women.
Oh.
They're all gonna be synced up. That's what I think.
He got back in for a split second, Ryan, and booted him right out again.
You guys seen any of this stuff where he literally drops off the stream whenever one of the other guys starts saying stuff that he doesn't want to be associated with, I guess, and then just comes right back on when they're done making their terrible jokes?
Came in before I could give the punchline, so that's on him. But I think it's supposed to be just blood, and it's like, hey, this is dark and
edgy, but
gritty and violent.
The logical representation of what that is.
Rises. Yeah. They don't just mean the skin tone of the main character.
Wait, is Reaver in this?
Because we get introduced that they're really the best. Respect your pronouns, I must. That's the kind of fucking Yoda we're gonna get in this one.
which we didn't.
We're in the clear. I think we got
good.
it. I can clip that now. All right, I wasn't in the frame.
Yeah, I think.
I actually have not seen any of that. I get linked a lot of clips to react to and to correct, but yeah, I haven't seen that.
So very telling.
Yeah, it is very telling. A few years ago, I was on his show. Quite a few times actually. We were like in a group chat and all this stuff, and like after a while, we just couldn't do it. Like, and every person that was part of that, we're all still friends. We just don't talk to him anymore because of this heel turn. This, like, I don't know, really really nasty. He actually ended up like unfriending and stuff me when I called out. It was BS about the Acolyte again, but that time specifically, it was when Jodie Turner-Smith was talking about her character coming, from a line of powerful women, because Star Wars, and how cool that was, because Star Wars is largely patriarchy. She was talking about her character coming from a coven of witches that are female. That's what I called it way back when. But they heard the word patriarchy and they couldn't help it. They just lost all sense. It's crazy.
They got triggered.
I apologize. Your audio is just kind of clipping in and out. I don't know if there's anything. I'm if I was halfway decent producer or host, I would have checked on this stuff before the show. But I apologize.
You know what? Actually, if you don't mind, I'm gonna rejoin and everything will work perfect. All right, give me 1 second.
No problem. Leftist audio moment. Yeah.
I do want to answer Eric's question about knowing the logical design choice of that poster. Sure. And I think for the most part, interpretively, it is blood can be on the hands of those that are the most light, and that's kind of like the story or the narrative of the Acolyte. A lot of people thought that like the whole mystery was the stranger, but the mystery was that what Soul did, and if we're avoiding spoilers, then that's all I'll say.
No, I feel like it's been been out enough that we can talk about it to whatever degree.
Yeah.
Just maybe not spoilers for Skeleton Crew yet, since that just ended. But
Yeah,
we'll talk
I mean,
about that, sure.
Acolyte was probably one of the darker projects in Star Wars, just from the raw body count.
Lucifer, that's brilliant. Maybe we should do that. What's some icebreaking questions? I'm an autist. I don't know what those mean. So
with what? Wait, with which guys? What are we talking about?
With the guests here.
Icebreaker? You mean like Karate Kid
Instead
2?
of just like, let's dive right into this fucking Chuck and Star Wars bullshit.
I would say for me, one of the things in this this whole discussion we're having, like with Ryan Cannell and everything, is it's progressively becomes like a younger sort of mentality when it comes to how they're interpreting media. Because I would talk to an adult about something and we might make a joke about something like that, but then you follow it up with like a decent conversation. But there's no decent conversation with them. It's like, for lack of a better term, like a locker room mentality, but it permeates their entire personality. So it's just everything about them is we're bros in the locker room talking about women objectively, and people of color objectively and diversity objectively with my bros. And they've kind of turned that into their entire personality. It's just what their channels are now.
Because I mean, I could see, maybe not these days, but like probably when I was in my 30s, even, taught with friends, seeing that poster and making some kind of fucking off-color joke about it. But yeah, exactly like you said, where then we would also just move on from that and be like, oh, well, I wonder what the show's actually about and stuff like that.
But I mean, like the period joke is reaching. That's a stretch. That's like a big, that's so try hard. Yeah. It's cringe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just because there's blood next to a lightsaber, that could mean anything.
And it's specifically because they're wanting to devalue the fact that it's female led, female centric show. Of course.
Let's guess. What did you guys? Well, whenever he comes back, what did you think of Acolyte? Did you enjoy it as a series? Did you like it overall?
Yeah. I enjoyed the story. I had some issues with its pacing and some of its execution. But I enjoyed the narrative wholesale. Like I wanted to know more about the stranger. I definitely wanted to know more about where Plagueis's kind of role was in this kind of canon version. Very much enjoyed Amandla Stenberg's performance. Manny's performance. Everyone's performance is really good. It's just there was a lot of like execution errors and pacing issues that I had with it, but I enjoyed it overall.
Yeah, that's about how I felt too, man. Is that I wanted to like the execution of it and the resolution of it a lot more than what I ended up liking. But as far as just there was a lot of decent, really decent and even great ideas and core concepts there that I guess I would have loved to see play out a little bit better. But that's a lot of people seem to really like it top to bottom.
I thought it was pretty good, but definitely had some flaws. Although the point I always make is it was still way better than Star Trek Next Generation Season 1, which is just rough. And that was allowed time to grow. And I am interested to see what would happen with Acolyte if it had time to grow.
Yeah. You want to do an audio check?
That's my biggest thing. I'm sure you guys can hear me fine. So I apologize. There's construction happening outside, and they did something. My internet was down all day until we were live, and then my Discord started working. I was like, "Oh, it's back!" All right. So now we're back. Right. No, but I had kind of had the same issue. I enjoyed the show overall. My big thing is a lot of the Star Wars shows start slow. You ever see Clone Wars Season 1?
Yeah.
It's not the best, Rebels is my favorite of the shows. Season 1, not the best. And we used to give these things time to grow. I think the Acolyte, of all of the things that we've gotten, has the best bones to be something truly special. And the choreography and the story that we were building to and getting to see Plagueis, it was very clear that Leslie Headland is a deep cut fan who loves her lore. And that very much came across. And so I am pained that we aren't going to get that. But the biggest problem is that the decision to dislike the show happened well before the show came out.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely true.
Well,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Dane.
You're good. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was going to say the thing I would hope is that, and I know maybe this is one of those pipe dreams, but I would love for Disney and Star Wars to see that the fans would like in some capacity for these characters to continue on. And maybe there's a project we'll get that will tie up some of the loose ends from the series, since we're not getting a season 2, only because I think the show set up a very cool, pathway to some stories, and all of that just came to an end. That's, again, it might be a pipe dream. I would love for them to look back at it and see if there is a possibility that fans want that.
It's more likely than not. I mean, what Star Wars has been doing really, really well, particularly since Disney bought Lucasfilm, is that they've been making this kind of galaxy feel like even if you don't get the shows that you want, the characters that are within this galaxy are in it, right? And so I can imagine, and I keep on saying this, that because I'm known in our community for calling this for every show, is that I can imagine Quinlan Voss showing up anywhere. I can imagine Hondo showing up anywhere, and then the fact that we have Plagueis, the fact that we have such a mystery behind Vernestra and Chimere or the Stranger, is that we can get that story. It doesn't have to be the Acolyte. It could be a show that's called The Stranger.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was hoping. Because as someone who wanted something different in the Star Wars TV shows, I think the Acolyte really did scratch that itch for me, because it was because we'd had so many of these shows where it kind of heavily relied on knowing so much about the outside of that bubble. And I think the Acolyte for a lot of people was, I know for a fact that friends of mine that didn't really care much for Star Wars in general had an opportunity to sit down and watch that, and they started liking it immediately. They're like, this is really cool. I like it. It's a new story. I don't have to know anything about these characters outside of the series, which I also think helped Skeleton Crew. I know we're not really talking about that, but I think Skeleton Crew also felt like it was one of those things that people can pick up and run with that don't necessarily know a ton about Star Wars. And so that's what I enjoyed about it. So I didn't mean to derail the conversation, Dane. Go ahead. You were going to go somewhere with that. So wait, is he AFK? Muted? Am I frozen?
I think he's
no,
No,
you're good.
I hear you just fine.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, like as a fan, as a casual. Oh, sorry. I say as a casual fan with my friends and stuff, they never. I know we're stepping all over each other. They enjoyed the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, so I thought it was good.
Yeah, and I think projects like this are exactly what Star Wars needs to continue. I feel like there's part of it that is it more Clone Wars? When you're like, it doesn't have to be more Clone Wars, and it was one of my issues with Ahsoka, which I very much enjoyed still.
Yeah.
But there were certain things that it felt like the show in and of itself didn't earn. And so I like that we get to have these separate projects where everything in it is earned by that project itself. And I think Skeleton Crew was fantastic with that, actually.
Absolutely.
One of the interesting things, because Dane essentially told me about you guys, and I started watching some of your content, and your guys' responses to a lot of these guys, I think, is really good. But one of the things you guys maybe realize I hadn't really thought about, and I actually had a debate about with a guy not that long ago about this. All these guys are treating like the expanded universe as if it's some sort of sacred cow. Like it has to be part of it. You can't just take it out. And one thing Ivy pointed out was that like even George Lucas didn't take the expanded universe all that seriously. But also, when I was watching you guys, one thing that really struck me is, have these guys even read the expanded universe? Like it's been a while. I've read like a few of the books, but like I'm not even sure if they've read any of them. Like it exists. It's not flawless, guys. it has issues.
Yeah. So one of the things that we did as we started in like 2019 as kind of lore keepers or lore masters is that we started to kind of take people to task and steelman their arguments with actual lore and citations. And one of the biggest things that we would run into with gatekeepers, and kind of like the toxicity back then was, if you didn't know who Revan was, you weren't a fan, or big Darth Nihilus fans. And we would get people, Chaco said this yesterday during our watch along for Skeleton Crew. One of the biggest things that we would hear is like, oh, Darth Nihilus comes off a lot better in the books. He only has a one shot. There's no books with Darth Nihilus
that he's not even in.
Of course.
So a lot of these people for sure come off as if they're kind of kowtowing to legends, but a lot of the arguments that they make either are very, very surface level Wikipedia blurbs. They don't really know anything about these characters, and one of the reasons we try to make a distinction between the two is just so that we know we are agreeing on the data set that we're debating, right? If we're talking about, oh, the lore is broken, we say, what are you talking about? Are we talking about legends, or are we talking about canon? Because Kiari-Mundi didn't have a birthday. Even in Legends, it was just an insider volume that had that little blurb of info, and then in canon he didn't have one, and so everyone picked up their pitchforks for that. And then they got mad.
But Star Wars theory point out there's a Topps card that lists his birthday. and they violate a Topps card.
The most sacred lore of all.
My favorite thing was when they were like, look, they updated Wikipedia in real time. They're changing, and you're like, that's what you're
Wikipedia.
supposed to do. When there's new information, you update with the new information. Like I don't even know. But to be clear, both Pep and I are massive expanded universe fans. So because we talk about this, sometimes we get accused of like, oh, well, you just hate all the no,
or you're new fans.
I'm 150 books deep into the expanded universe.
Damn.
The thing that bothers me is like when people are bringing up points, and I'm like, oh, you haven't read that book. Why are you arguing with me over a book you haven't read? That's weird. I don't know. That's odd. That's odd behavior to me.
It's the same thing. Bob of the Old Ways here, talks about, because he deals with Lord of the Rings a lot, and that's his wheelhouse. And so he did, content about Rings of Power, and it's the same thing with those people. Like they think they know the lore, they think they know canon, and they don't. They often don't. Not only do they put more emphasis on it than any of the creators ever cared to. You know what I mean? It's just, it's as he calls it, fandomentalism. But it's like these hateful Christians that don't even actually know what the Bible says, kind of thing. It reminds me of that exactly.
That's so true.
And then also just like the patriot MAGA types that don't actually understand the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. It's like y'all are just, beating everybody over the head with these texts, but you don't fucking know what they say.
Yeah.
But what did you guys think of Skeleton Crew?
Great. Absolutely loved it. I think they could have had 12 episodes. And I'm kind of, this is one of my concerns with Disney Plus, is that they have like this episode mandate and this episode length mandate that they need to get rid of. That being said, their 8 episodes, they completely nailed the landing. I loved every episode. Every subsequent episode became my favorite episode. I think my favorite episode was Bryce Dallas Howard's episode.
That one was really good. That was the one on the at the spa thing, right?
Yes, where they shed the
I don't even. It's funny because I don't really have a lot of complaints or criticisms about the show, which I typically have. I feel like it did everything it needed to do in every episode, and that's almost my complaint. Is it was all, it was all killer, no filler, right? Sometimes we need the fat, we need the excess to spend some more time with these characters and fall more in love with them. But like it was complete, and also for a cast of child actors, they nailed it, like to a surprising degree.
I mean, we haven't really had, in my opinion, a show with that level of acting from child actors since Stranger Things. I think Stranger Things season 1 was like the last time I remember a show that was primarily comprised of younger actors that hit the mark like Skeleton Crew did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think even I can admit that some of the acting from young May and Osha was a bit stale in some scenes, but like the kids that did Skeleton Crew were all amazing.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting, and I encountered this on, I don't remember if I saw it on Twitter or if it was here on YouTube first, but the complaints about the two moms in the series, about having the two mothers. And the scene, to be quite honest, was rather benign. There wasn't a lot that happened. In that scene,
they just stood next to each other.
That even made it obvious. You could pretty much figure out with some critical thinking they were together, but it wasn't explicitly explained what their relationship actually was in the show, and there was no sign of affection, really, other than holding hands, and that's something that Friends do. So they didn't go the extra mile for it, and I thought it was interesting. I think it was Chris Gore who kind of went off on this tangent about this third episode. Wait till the third episode and the lesbians show up, and it's just like. Yeah. I mean, it really was. I mean, I'm all for the idea. Well, this is the thing. They ask for these sort of representation that isn't in the face. Their argument is they want something that feels more organic or natural, which we know that's not really what they're saying, but that's what their argument is, And you have the situation where you have these moms just existing in this world. There's no statement about them. There's no storyline really behind it. Nothing like that. They're just there. And that's enough for these guys to make arguments about it. And to be honest, if that wasn't there, the show's the quality of the show was not affected at all by them existing in the show or not existing in the show. I mean, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't have made a difference.
Another example of Star Wars just being like, here, queer people. They're there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're right there. We see you. Is that enough? Can we shut up now?
It's the bare minimum. But the thing is that it didn't change anything about the show, which is why that statement from Chris Gore comes across exactly as it is intended, which is homophobia about Star Wars, and so
it's also part and parcel with how they operate, right? I think it was Jeremy that said we take one small thing and make a big thing out of it. And so like it's like diversity is not in their faces. They put their faces into it. It's not being shoved down their throat. They are deep throating it. So it's like none of this stuff is egregious. You guys are just pushing your faces into it, and calling it woke and making it a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you guys a question
before you've seen it.
Sure.
Yeah,
what's your opinion worth? Once you're
like, what Star Wars project does anyone's race, gender, sexual orientation relevant, as a storytelling point? In what Star Wars project is that a thing? None.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
Star Wars is actually bad at representation.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, ever since Lando set the standard of it's like, hey, we got a black guy, but like it literally didn't have anything to do with anything. You know what I mean? Except him being smooth as fuck, I guess. It didn't matter to anything, to the story or whatever, and they kind of just stuck with that since then.
I actually think that these guys conflate real life actors talking about what it means to them to be a part of Star Wars and what Star Wars actually is.
Oh, so, they definitely do.
Yeah, so if you're a gay actor or a woman or someone of color or something that is outside of the straight white guy demographic these guys talk about all the time, and you're happy to be a part of something, that joy is immediately like ingrained in what they see the project as. So it's like, if you're a gay person and you're in Star Wars, but you're not playing a gay character, it's still woke as fuck to them. It doesn't matter because you've just talked about what it means to be a gay person acting in Hollywood. And so, the worst red carpet ever. He said he was gay and he's going to be in a Star Wars project. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reaction they get. And like you were saying, now that you mention it, it really is sort of like Star Wars just doesn't do representation. It's not about representation because you're dealing with alien races. You're dealing with worlds that are like fantastical. You know what I mean? Like these environments that just don't really exist in our reality. And they're worried about a gay actor being excited to be on a show or two moms standing in the background. It seems so performative.
I also have to say, these guys are the most interested in red carpet interviews of anybody I've ever seen in my life. Nobody cares about it. It's like, easy promotion that these guys do. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, like whenever they do interviews with some of the cast and crew of these shows, they often take an interviewer's question that the interviewee is answering, and they blow it up to the so they're making this show about that, right? So when they talked about New Jedi Order and Charmin Obaid-Chinoy being asked, how does it feel to be the first female to film a movie, she answered the question, but everyone's like, this new movie is gonna be about being the first female, and it's like that's not what it is. Like, and then when they asked Daisy Ridley, how have you been, how has your reception been, how have you been handling this, it's like, I can't, I only focus on the positive, I can't change how some men view women.
Right.
She was asked the question, she's gonna answer the question, right? And so like they make it out to be that Daisy Ridley's personality is hating men at that point.
Well, I mean, if she did not answer the question, they would call her a bitch because they'd be like, "Why did she refuse to answer the question?" So
in another context,
it's a no-win scenario.
Like it doesn't matter.
With their audience, they're going to call her a bitch no matter what.
Question for everybody here: like, why do you guys think that they? Because if you look at at least like Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers, I haven't looked. We can take a look if you guys want, but like, I haven't seen any. Definitely not anything remotely close to the shit that they were giving Acolyte with Skeleton Crew. Why do we think that is?
I mean, Jaws White. That's my first thought, but there was less for them to instantly jump on and hate. And it's less profitable for them. They're chasing profits. You'll see even recently, I think it was a recent Star Wars Theory video where it was like there was less viewers than the Acolyte, and the thumbnail is Leslie Headland, and you're like, but you're talking about Skeleton Crew. Right. Why is she because these are not nerd channels anymore. It's not a Star Wars channel anymore. It's a culture war channel with a little Star Wars hat on it. That's really all it is. And so it's whatever's profitable in those circles, and making fun of women is profitable.
Yeah. They also, I think they also did a video when Lego Star Wars came out. Was that a holiday special? With the Black Falcon.
Yeah, it was. I don't think it was explicitly a holiday thing, but it was released around when they do holiday.
You've got Kevin Feige wearing some kind of African here, which who knows what that's about.
It's fucking Nerdrotic. I can't believe this guy has over 1 million subs.
They were doing videos. They were doing videos on how. Why Lego Star Wars does better than the Acolyte. It's like it's two different like shows.
Yeah.
It's
I think their fans are, I think it's just turned into background noise for their brain. I mean, that's kind of what these videos are now. They just put them on and just it's like take it in.
It's like it literally functions like a drug addiction for a lot of the viewers, right? Like they got hooked. It triggers the pleasure center, in their brain that tells them, oh, this is good. You're enjoying this. These people are saying things that make you feel good about yourself and shit on other people that you don't like. And then just over time, like I think and this gets pretty sad when you think about it, it's just like maintenance to watch a Nerdrotic video for a lot of these guys. It's like, it just got to get my hit for today. You know what I mean? Like, and even though he's saying the exact same shit over and over again, it's just,
Yeah, we had one of the chuds. What did you say, Choco? It was an unwatched party last night.
Yeah, they had an unwatched party, and so they came to our live to make fun of people who are enjoying shows. Like it's so it's so beyond pathetic that it's crazy. Like it doesn't bother me. It's just sad. It just makes me sad.
I mean
that's why the best term is anti-fandom. I hold to that, man, because it's like fans don't do that shit. Non-fans don't do that shit. So it's a third thing, right? It's an anti-fan.
I covered one of these guys once, and then I started getting a whole bunch of their fans in my comments. That was when I was like, oh, this is a problem. Like, these guys are obviously wrong on like so much shit, but they're gonna get these guys who defend them en masse. That's an issue.
Yep.
Yeah, they're Lord and Saviors.
Yes.
And that's the thing that I love about Eric. I watched a lot of your videos and this kind of new movement with like Pillar of Garbage and Birdman and actual fandom. Like, I enjoy these really, really genuine conversations, genuine criticisms, because like they always say that we are shills and that we just love everything they put out. But like what we're really looking for is just actual fandom where we can either say we enjoyed this show or we have issues with this show and have these genuine discourse. But like what they're looking for, and I think one of you said it earlier, you know, I think it was Eric with like Locker Room. They were looking for conformity. They were looking for everyone to agree with them. They wanted to go in, say one word's like, yeah, bad, right? Yeah, bro. Like Locker Room talk. Like they don't want any discourse.
No.
I really appreciate that that you guys are here with us, and you know, like I said, I've watched some of your videos. I stumbled upon them, and when I saw you pop in, I was like, wait a minute, this is who we have today? Because it was like one of those moments where I just wasn't, because I saw you guys pop into the green room at the bottom, and I was like, wait, who is that? But no, I had a moment the other night on my podcast where I had somebody super chatting me with sort of like just brain rot stuff from these guys. And, you know, he was talking about the Acolyte and how bad it was and all of this. And so I asked him to be specific, like what is it that you didn't like about the Acolyte? Because I do want to genuinely see, you're here watching my channel, so clearly you're here for a reason and you're super chatting me. So, you know, you want to engage. And it was just like, I hated it from start to finish. Well, what did you hate about it though? What is it you didn't like?
Did he eventually get around to saying the writing?
No, he didn't. I think you might have mentioned writing, but I talked about it. I said, you do realize that it's not a movie, it's a TV show, and every episode, well, not every episode, but the episodes didn't all have the same writers, the same directors, the same, like it was different people involved with the making of the show. And so to blanketly say that it was all bad is not having an intelligent conversation about the art that you're looking at. It's one of those things where these guys have, like, and I think I've mentioned it here before, they take the idea of reviewing movies and try to apply that to reviewing TV shows. And although there are some similarities there, it's two different things. You're reviewing two different types of media, because with movies, that is a director's vision they put together, and it's a one-shot thing. TV shows are week-to-week episodic stories. And yes, they all tie together, but unless you have one person doing every single episode, they're not all going to be cohesive, and the fidelity is not going to necessarily be there with quality in every episode.
I mean, you can't even judge all TV series the same. Some TV series, every episode is pretty much self-contained. You can judge it on its own. Other TV series, more common now, are episodic. So like, you know, every episode's a chapter in the story, and you know, you have to judge it as just a chapter, not like a complete story. It's, you know,
to go back to the roots of what I did, I used to review the Arrowverse on the CW. Like every week I did, like, I had 10 videos a week about the freaking Arrowverse. And
I love the Arrowverse.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it was fun television. I didn't take it too seriously, and I reviewed it with a lot of fun too. And you know, you can look at the bad stuff. There was a lot of bad stuff, but there was also a lot of good stuff there too. It's cheesy television. And so you would go through, and they would have a different showrunner for each season, or they'd have a different person writing this episode or writing this story arc. And you have to look at it that way. And I know it's like really catchy, like fun television, but it taught me a lot on how to critically view media, because I started to understand a lot more about how TV shows are made, what goes on in the production side, what goes on behind the scenes, the actors, the writers, all of that. And I took all of that and I applied it to the critical thinking behind a lot of these complaints about the movies and TV shows. So it did sort of help me combat a little bit against this like dumb sort of brain rotted take on media, which is what these guys have done. They've convinced a bunch of people that they understand that they are the, you know, that they know how to make perfect media. They know what perfect media should look like. And they have all of their minions convinced that they know better than other people who are talking about it, that may have gone to school for it, that are directors or writers or people working in Hollywood. They've convinced all these people that they are right about it. And these are just bros sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs, playing a video game. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you don't know better than those people because you think it's garbage. You can't even tell me they don't even understand the writing process is several steps. It's not like you write the script the first pass and that's what goes on the screen. That's not how that works.
I mean, the YouTubers they follow so religiously don't even understand. I mean, Critical Drinker made the most mid TV pilot ever. Eric July makes the worst comic books ever. They don't they're acting like these guys know anything. They don't know shit. They don't.
I just gotta say, I watched a Critical Drinker video because someone told me to watch his review of the last season of The Boys, which I thought was its weakest season.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I thought it was decent.
His review, he didn't watch it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He straight up says, "Yeah, I didn't watch it." But I heard, like, what are we doing here then?
Exactly. I've called that out. I've called out Melanie Mack for that. I've called out Ryan Cannell for that. I've called out Critical Drinker for that. We've got to the point where they don't even have to consume the things that they're talking about. So their fans are so locked in, that's not even criteria anymore. You don't have to watch it.
That's why they need.
That's why fighting video games.
Yeah. So
it's almost like you have a combo. And you're like, and you get them in the combo, and you just use those words. That's how they make videos. It's the combo, the buzzwords.
Critical Drinker just did a Star Trek video, and he talked about how all modern Star Trek sucks. All people who work on it need to be fired. And by the way, he's not watching it. And it's like, what are you even judging?
And this is why they need those kind of stand-in barometers to use, because a lot of their reviews are just putting it up against a successful show.
Right.
They'll talk about how the Acolyte needs to be, a Rings of Power or a House of the Dragon, and you're not talking about the critical aspects of the show itself. You're just like, oh, it needs to be like this successful TV show because it's successful, and so they rarely critique the contents of the material that they're critiquing, and then just kind of like put it up against something that is societally accepted as successful.
Chaco, you made a good point earlier. Oh, sorry, Dane.
No, go ahead.
I was saying, you made a good point earlier when we talked about why they're not critiquing Skeleton Crew the same way they did Acolyte, and you said because it's not profitable for them. And I thought about this the other day, and they complain about Star Wars putting out bad stuff. And then a lot of them said they thought Skeleton Crew was pretty solid. There wasn't a lot of complaints at the beginning when it first came out. They were like, I watched the first 2 episodes, it's pretty good, whatever. And then crickets on that. If they really cared about Star Wars and they wanted Disney to know this is what we like, wouldn't they be propping up Skeleton Crew and talking about it extremely positively and saying, see, this is what we love versus the Acolyte, which we didn't like. So Disney, give us more of this because this is really good, because at least then we could like sort of gauge what it is they want from Disney. But they've been completely silent on it. And it's very telling, but their fans don't even put 2 and 2 together and understand the reason why they're not propping up something they like is because, like you said, it's not profitable. And also it breaks the narrative that they have. They have to continue that narrative that everything is bad. So they just ignore the stuff that's good, like Andor, Skeleton Crew, things that they just can't criticize.
Yeah, that's why they're that's why their newer reviews always point back to Acolyte. If they're reviewing the Lego movie, it's like this is why it's better than Acolyte. If they do a video on Skeleton Crew, it's like, oh, it has lesser views than the Acolyte. So like if they do cover it, it's to harken back to something that'll give them views. That's all.
Yep. Absolutely.
So Dane
almost like
every time we get to a point where it's like Dane's ready to go, it's like he disappears. Are you still there? No.
No, but not. Almost like it's a predictable pattern when you watch them too much.
Well,
I mean, I'll make a comment on well, circling back to like the representation of Star Wars, just to kind of paint a broader picture of how bad it is. It's based on samurai, taking a lot from Kurosawa. The name Jedi comes from Jidaigeki, which is period films from Japan.
I didn't know that.
And we had our first Asian Jedi in the Acolyte.
Right.
That's how long it took.
Yeah, it took all this time to do
our
that.
Asian representation was
spoiler, he doesn't survive.
That's spoiler alert. Yeah, that's true. I think if I had an actual criticism of Star Wars that I think is probably not a hot take, but maybe it is. I want more movies. Like I don't mind the TV shows, but I want more films. Like I Solo, maybe I am a shill because I didn't mind Solo. I thought Solo was fine. I know a lot of people
I thought it was mid.
It was a bit, so it was.
It hits different on the second viewing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of people went into it expecting it to be something that it was never going to be, and then you go back and you watch it, and you're like, "Oh, okay, it's not bad." But I think back and I'm like, there's a lot of things like Rogue One that I really, really, really loved, and I would love to see more things like that. But it's like they've just, I don't know. I don't keep up with Star Wars, I guess, as much as I do as other things, in terms of like their production. But I wonder what it is that's preventing them from actually giving us something because. I realize they want to quote unquote get it right or whatever that means, but you're doing all of these shows. Where are the like Star Wars movies? I mean, I feel like we should see something. I knew we got the Mandalorian one, but that's
Well, I mean, I think there's like multiple layers to the problem there, where they were trying to go. In my opinion, probably too big with certain things, which just delayed these projects. First of all, there's more content being created nowadays than there ever has been before.
True.
Second of all, we had Disney Plus, and the goal was to make streaming is not profitable. Netflix is the only profitable one, and they've been doing it since 2012.
Yeah,
and like I remember, I worked there when we started airing Mad Men, and it cost them like $1 million per episode to air.
Wow.
Like they were not profitable for a long time, and Disney Plus is poised now to become the second profitable one, which is actually crazy considering it's the youngest. But yeah, they've kind of been mandated to make more content for that. But I also look at Skeleton Crew. Like we were shocked at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim because the announcement on the stage was we finished filming Skeleton Crew. And they hadn't announced it yet, and they had already fit the pitch and everything for that started around the time the first Marvel Spider-Man movie came out. That's when John Watts pitched it.
Whoa!
So he had to finish all of the other Spider-Man films before they can really in earnest start on this project. That's a long time. And there's a lot of projects that started, but these people are contracted to do 2 movies over here. Rian Johnson has another film that needs to come out. But yeah, I do agree. We'd have to get back in the theater, number one. And like, if you, and just give us basic stories in the theater so that on Disney Plus, you can give us some of these deeper, more intricate, and more thematic things. And I think that'll make people complain less, because they're being fed in the main thing.
Yeah, so, I agree.
So we have a fourth co-host that fortunately hasn't been able to be with us because she's been sick for a couple of weeks. But Chariot, I hope she gets better soon. But I have a clip from her here that I think is pretty fucking awesome. That's just a couple of minutes, and I just want to make sure she's represented today and see what you guys think about what she says here.
A huge and powerful function of the critic is to speak the unspoken. And so I find critics like Jeremy to be a negative for the arts, because the way they criticize actually pulls the veil back over the art by building certain ideas into their value judgments. If the standard is objective, it's unaccountable, or it's only accountable in a circular fashion that never establishes itself. Jeremy's description of why The Last Jedi is a bad Star Wars film is predicated on a similar kind of faulty reasoning. If The Last Jedi is a bad Star Wars film because there is some special frame of reference for judging Star Wars films, what is that frame of reference? It should presumably be a series of qualities related to the contents of the work of art. Which qualities should it have? Does it need all of them? Can it express them differently? Who decided that? Why can't it be different? Is it different? Before we move on, I'd also like to address the insinuation about positive reviews being traded for Hollywood access. In general, it is the case, to the best of my knowledge, that reviewers want their reviews published as close to release as possible, and therefore they often appreciate.
So yeah, I think that's a pretty important point that you made already, just right there, that like, these guys talk about this stuff as if, they're generally pretty vague about what it is that they think Star Wars should be. You know what I mean? And other than just saying things are woke or that certain actors are a color or a gender or whatever, it's like, what the fuck are you even saying is the issue here, right?
Yeah.
And that allows them just that freedom to, just say whatever the hell. And their audience doesn't even pick up on it, I don't think. It's all just vibes-based communication. You know what I mean? Same thing as like we were watching Eric July before you guys came on, talking about comics and stuff. You're throwing out certain words that they understand, certain phrases. They don't have to have a connective tissue. You're just, as long as it's expressing the sentiment that they want to feel, which is a negative sentiment toward that property or industry or whatever, then they're going to just consume that content. It's pretty absurd.
Yeah, one of the criticisms that I was hearing back in the Last Jedi days that really, really kind of irked me was, it's not a good Star Wars movie, but it's a good movie. And I'm like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah, that argument never makes sense because it's like, what metric is Star Wars different from movies? I'm confused.
So I mean, I've said that actually about like kind of like Batman Returns before. I've said that like it's a good fun movie, but I don't think it's a good Batman movie, right? I've said that, and I think I could defend that if I had to. But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know that these guys are putting that much into it, right? That much thought into it.
I think if I were to kind of surface level interpret what you mean, I would probably say that it's on the basis of Batman as a character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Whereas Star Wars is this intangible that you can't really, it's like, what is a Star Wars movie? And if this is a good movie and a bad Star Wars movie, then why do you still hate it? You know?
Exactly.
Giving advance copies of the things they review, which comes courtesy of the companies that make them or the companies which distribute them. If a critic is a brand risk, they probably won't receive an advance copy. That is what most people probably care about. And if negative reviews factor into that, I could understand believing there will be pressure. However, this pressure will exist generally, and it is only a question of whether a specific company which distributes advance copies will behave in this way. So, we need an analogous example of a Disney Star Wars film which received negative critic reviews if we want to poke a massive hole in Jeremy's logic. Do you think
Empire
we can
Strikes
find
Back.
one? If you look to the Rotten Tomatoes page for The Last Jedi, you'll see the numbers that reflect Jeremy's narrative. The voice of the people, or so we're supposed to believe, is being heard, even while these critics quake in fear of the powers that be. It's more than a little cheesy, but that's the basic insinuation. It's why YouTubers like Jeremy are so obsessed with metascores, many of which are useless because they don't filter for who has or hasn't seen the film to begin with. However, if we take Jeremy at his word and treat those scores as representing that kind of people's reviewer revolution, we can see something extremely interesting just by looking at the Rotten Tomatoes page for The Rise of Skywalker. Critics hated this film. It was being torn to shreds for being a poorly put together, cringy parade of tortured writing from A to Z. Yet the audience score, the real fans as we've been told, clapped like seals for this lukewarm dog water. The audience review metascore for The Rise of Skywalker is actually higher than not only The Last Jedi, but also The Force Awakens, Solo, The Revenge of the Sith, The Attack of the Clones, and The Phantom Menace. Watching critics like Jeremy pretend these audience metascores are meaningful is like watching Twitter users pretend they're going to lead a people's revolution. It's just chintzy populist rhetoric failing to disguise a weird private personal belief.
Yeah.
Yes, nailed it. And so I've received a few pretty cool opportunities to either watch a movie early or go to a premiere or something like that. So that part is something I can speak to.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care if your review of it is positive. They just want you to review it and talk about it. And but the thing is, they won't give it to someone who has a history of hating it. Like, obviously, as a company, they want their product represented as positively as possible. So they'll give it to someone who enjoys that type of thing. Sometimes I was actually supposed to review The Last Showgirl, and stuff happened. I didn't watch it, but
we were
I don't know
supposed
why
to
they asked.
review
I don't know why
Alien
they asked
Romulus, right?
No, we just happened to. Yeah, that's the other thing is
we just hopped
they
onto
don't
the bus.
What they don't ask for a review even.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't make any content around it, yeah, they might not invite you back the next time. But there's no, in those contracts, first of all, not getting paid. Second of all, if you are getting paid, you have to disclose it, and they are actually on your ass about disclosing it, because that's illegal, and there's a lot of issues with that. Third of all, they don't tell you that it has to be positive or negative,
right?
Ever at all.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten advanced copies or review copies of comic books before. I've done a couple of like I got to watch was it sorry, drawing blank, Hawkeye, the Hawkeye show, in advance and review that with some screener copies. And no, there was no deal made or anything like that. Now, I mean, they do imply that it's like, well, if you want to keep getting the advanced screener copies or whatever, then yeah, you do need to review it positively, which I could see being a somewhat decent question to have if you aren't familiar with how things work. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like at the same time, like you're saying, it's the people that they're not going to give it to are the people that are just known for being bad faith and giving the most dishonest criticism of stuff and calling everything woke and stuff. So like, yeah, a lot of these guys, no, they're not going to get review copies of anything because what the fuck is the point?
Well, why would they want them? That's the other thing. If you're not happy with the state of this media, why would they send it to you? Because they would assume you don't want it.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Oh, Star Wars is dead. It's been dead since 2019.
True.
I mean, for them complaining that they're not getting any kind of preferential treatment and other people are, you're actively saying you don't like this stuff. So why do you care? Why do you care if somebody else is getting preferential treatment? What difference does that make in the big scheme of things to these guys? It's all anti-virtue signaling, basically.
Yeah, a lot of the times they don't even have, special treatment. Like Star Wars Theory made this gag video where he was invited to Star Wars Celebration and that all of his expenses would be comped and stuff. And it was a joke, but like none of us are comped anything. We spend thousands of dollars ourselves to go to Celebration. And even if we have panels on there, we spend ourselves the money to put that up. And so I don't know anybody that, has received things like entirely paid for, like coming to Celebration and getting thousands and thousands of expenses.
He's the biggest Star Wars YouTuber.
Like most you get is typically like a free pass or something like that. That's usually about it.
His ego told him that he deserved that more than any other YouTubers, right? Like something like that.
So is that why he's so salty? Is he just not getting treated like special anymore, and now he's decided that it's time to start?
Oh, he's angry? Persona non grata. They actively don't like him.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder why.
I've been
how did that come out? Is there anything like any confirmation that anybody said, or just kind of like deduced that they just are avoiding him intentionally, or what? Like
in order to be considered, so like let's say a video game or something is coming out, like they have an approved list of content creators that can be reached out to. And if because they want to know who's representing their brand, and yeah, he's not on that list. Now, the other companies are the ones that actually reach out, but they have to use someone that's approved. So certain things he did make a video on like EA reached out to him for Star Wars Outlaws, but they said you have to say this about it, and he wasn't going to do that, and they wouldn't pay him. And I was like, no, I was one of those people. I got to play it early. I saw the contract. No, they didn't pay anyone.
Right.
No, they didn't say you had to do this. There is certain things where they're like, don't show any cutscenes. You are going to be testing this, a couple months early, and so you are going to be on an early version. So if there's like something that's basic, like don't show that because that's not in the final. There's some really basic stuff like that, but other than that, you're like, just why are you lying? It's weird. That's what I hate is
the
lies and misrepresentation.
It also gets a little dangerous from companies because sorry, Dane, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm having a delay, I guess, here on my end because I keep stepping over people. If you're a company and you're putting a product out early access to somebody that's a loose cannon, you're jeopardizing your product because that person may decide they want to go rogue on something and you know, maybe they're so big they don't care about the legal ramifications, especially somebody the size of Star Wars theory, you know?
Somebody like this.
He's a former Padawan who could put out sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Fires in the vacuum of space. Fires in the vacuum of space. Sustained fires in the vacuum of space.
You know?
I always like to bring up George Lucas's quote. You can find this in the archive book, the Big Red Book. He says, "If I want air in space, I'm gonna have air in space.
Right.
It's my movie."
Look, we can hear everything that happens. Once you accept that, then you're if you don't want to accept some other stuff here and there, then you're being obtuse on purpose. Right?
Yeah.
Like we can hear all the cool sounds. We might as well be able to get some cool explosions and some fires and shit like that.
Also,
that's the least egregious offense too.
Right.
Right. I've heard that. But I also want to say that I feel like we already are suspending disbelief in Star Wars anyway. So why are we so concerned about that one minor thing? Well, it was such a small non-factor.
I mean, what I always like about
inconsistencies
Star Wars
that
is
kill
how
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
But what I like about Star Wars is how it's all like based in reality. Like everything's 100% like fact and science proven. That's the great thing about Star Wars.
Like the idea of a lightsaber, like this energy that you just knows when to stop. Like it comes out, but it stops right here.
Well, it's actually funny because the fiction of Star Wars is actually ahead of our real science. Because a lot of the ships are powered by fusion reactors, right? And we just achieved ignition on our first fusion. And I don't know. I think in the next 10 years we might have our first fusion reactor that then we can start building Star Destroyers and travel space.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for sustained fires in space, so we can do it.
I think my biggest offense of reality in Star Wars is resistance in space, because I'm a huge Battlestar Galactica fan, and the way
I love that.
The way they maneuvered in space was very realistic to how you would, because they had boosters on their ships that would allow them to move in 3D space, because there's no resistance. You can't bank in space. You can't bank against a vacuum, So I love the way the ships maneuvered in Battlestar, but it's Star Wars, whatever. Come on.
When you want fucking some great movement for ships and battles and stuff, the Expanse is where it's at, man.
Oh, I love Expanse too. Yeah.
I love how in Star Wars all of the ships agree on what the orientation of up is, so the ships don't ever face each other
True.
And weird off angles.
That's dropping out of hyperspace and it's upside down. Oh, whoops, sorry guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit diagonal.
Which is funny because it represents itself in, was it Empire or was it A New Hope? Because they dock on the side of the bridge, and because it's not upright, they don't search it. The Falcon.
Oh God.
That's how they lose them.
But yeah, it seems. Sorry, I'm trying to check something out here that came to my attention. I apologize.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't remember. But in Battlestar Galactica, I talk about this all the time. That's one of the shows that I don't see people really talking about much, and it's a shame because it was such a good series that I mean, what did you think about some of the spinoff of the Caprica and the?
I tried to get into Caprica. I did. I fell off of it. I don't know what it was. Maybe a lot of the original charm was lost.
Yeah.
Also, Boomer wasn't there, so I was kind of like.
I mean, that's not untrue. Specifically, me with Caprica, same exact thing. But at the time, I was I worked at Netflix from 4:30 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Oh,
and then and then we would go. Then I'd sleep, and then we'd go out like to clubs and karaoke until it was time to go to work. So like I'd get home, and then I'd try to watch it, and I'd fall asleep. And I'm like, I guess I can't watch it, and I just never went back.
What did you think? I know we're completely off topic here, but were you fans of any of the Stargate shows at all? Any of the Stargate,
yes.
like Stargate Atlantis? What is it? What was the one that was canceled? Stargate Universe.
I've seen. What was the question?
No, I mean, like, what did you think of those shows? I quite enjoyed Atlantis. I thought it was my favorite of all of them, to be honest. But
I mean, my favorite was SG1, but I saw all of them like a long time ago. But I know that I forget the blonde character.
Samantha Carter.
Yeah, I know that she's gone on to write a lot of sci-fi.
Oh yeah, shows. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I loved her. She was really good. I would love for them to revitalize some of those shows. I'd love to see how the Chuds react to like a militarized space series in 2025.
Well, I mean, I thought Universe had potential, but they just ended it, and I was like, oh,
I wish that would have gone on. I thought that was
left.
such a sleeper
I
hit,
know.
to be honest. Yeah, that would have been really good.
Here's the problem.
They should make Teal'c a female just to kind of like give them seizures.
As this grift like community continues to move further right, the worse all sci-fi and fiction in general is going to get for them because they're going to continually see themselves as the enemies in whatever project. That's just typically how it goes.
I feel like we're in a weird spot where, and I actually talked to Dane and Bob about this, and pretty much all the people on the podcast. I feel like they, especially now after the election, it's less about the fandoms and it's more obviously about the culture. Because leading up until the Trump re-election, which I don't want to get into politics, but I just need to point this out. Like, up until then, the game was we need to be as centerish as we can possibly be for consumer, like people to jump into our content and feel like they're part of the community. But ever since the election has happened, now it's like we can be as political as we fucking want. We can move as far as we want. We can be as culture driven as we want, and we can be open about it because now we are the ones driving the narrative. That's kind of where they are, and it's a shame because. Not because I want them out of the fandom space, but I don't want them to expand that narrative outside of where it is, which is what I feel like they're trying to do. They're trying to take it beyond just these niche audiences. Okay. And it's been somewhat successful in politics. But the problem is, and I said this before, the damage is already done. They lit all the fires and then they just left everything burning. And that's the way they've treated all of this. They walk into a room, they light the match, they toss it, and then they let everybody else deal with whatever the aftermath is. And that's kind of where the fandom is with these guys now.
Hey, nothing but media, Ryan. What's going on, man?
Hello.
How's it going?
How's my sound? Pretty good.
So yeah, I was sorry. I was kind of distracted there for a minute because somebody said that there was a certain video that exists on the ripoff.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about because I was looking for it too, and I was like, I don't see it.
I didn't see it. So he says he's not sure it's been released on the Ripoffverse channel, but he saw it on one of Ethan's streams, CG Kings, I think. Okay. Well, I mean, we'll see. You know, since Ethan is a producer of those videos, hopefully he's continued to give Bob his props for and you know doing what he did there. But anyway, sorry about that. What's going on, Ryan? How you been?
Yeah, not much. Nice to meet the guys here. Also a big fan. I think echo the sentiments of everybody else. Your Star Wars content is really top quality and deserves more eyes on it. So,
like your guys' stuff should be the stuff that's getting played in the algorithm, but the algorithm, you know, is it is what it is. So not ideal, but
appreciate the sentiment.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're all fighting the algorithm.
Yeah.
I actually have the clip with Bob. I found it already on the stream.
Found it, huh? All right.
Let me.
Shit.
Mind if we take just a quick sidebar?
Let me jump on.
Non sequitur. I was watching Eric type for a second, and it just reminded me of Dennis from Jurassic Park. Just where the keyboard is placed and how Dennis just like.
Let me. I'll give you guys a little. If I can get the camera to move here, I'm going to give you guys a little sneak peek of what I see here in front of me. This is the behind the scenes. So I've got this as the show, and then I have my little. I've got my other computer over here where I stream everything from. So everything is kind of like closely connected here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me.
You have like a bit of two monitors. Yep.
I got 2 monitors. Yeah, hold on. Let me fix everything in.
It's a bit like an early 2000s hacker setup, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got a lot of things going on here. Let me jump in.
1995 hackers.
Yeah, right. We're gonna go into the virtual city skyscrapers and fly around and shit. You know.
I had one monitor longer than I care to admit.
Yeah, I should just do a split screen, but I've got 2 computers running, so it is what it is.
If you want to just send it to me, I could show it if you're having a hard time.
No, I'm good. I'm jumping in now. I'm just doing my other computer. Present.
I have so many monitors, it's not even funny.
I think most of us do, man. You know, like those of us that stream on a regular basis. Bob, you do, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
So I don't know how long
There's
this
me
is, but
and my other monitor.
yeah, I don't know
It's
how long.
3
this
hours
is.
long. Is what I'm looking at.
Oh yeah, no, the clip isn't. Like the clip's hopefully like less than a couple of minutes. Anyway.
That's why I'm always looking up. There's
Yeah.
upper monitor, lower monitor. Yeah.
All right, here we go. We ready to see this? I don't. Again, I think it's just probably a minute or so long, but it's on the beginning here.
Sure, you have already said that a few times, actually, Derek. You don't actually answer questions, though. You just talk around in circles.
I do not. I expressly said, did I not, that to the point that what I said previously to that.
Okay, we're going off track again. My answer to what I think you're mumbling about is that I think your only issue with Miles Morales is that he's black. Right?
What I said was, and this is not exclusively to the point that I previously made that pertains to the subject matter at hand, which if you've been listening to the original statement that...
Good Lord, you really are an idiot. Okay, let's go back to the start here. So, okay, so you've obviously read Amazing Fantasy 15, right?
You're changing the subject that correlates to...
Wait, you have read Amazing Fantasy 15, right?
I don't see how that has anything to do with all the...
Are you aware of Amazing Fantasy 15?
Your question isn't in good faith, so I don't have to...
Have you heard of Amazing Fantasy 15, Derek?
The question is, have you read Fantastic Fantasy?
Well, only a totally fake comic book fan, you know, like someone who tells people to call him the Black Stan Lee, would not know the significance of Amazing Fantasy 15, especially in the context of this conversation or debate, whatever it is.
I am not obliged to, that is to address a point that doesn't pertain to the subject that I previously stated.
Do you even know what Amazing Fantasy 15 is?
Does anybody know what it really is?
Have you ever read Amazing Fantasy 15?
Who do you think would win in a fight between...
Have you ever read Amazing Fantasy 15?
Have you seen Jurassic Park? Big Dinosaur.
Do you know what Amazing Fantasy 15 is, Derek?
Do you know what my favorite food is?
Have you ever read Amazing Fantasy 15?
Look at this funny rabbit.
Have you ever read Amazing Fantasy 15?
I'm Batman.
Interesting. So basically, you absolutely cannot answer that question, can you?
What?
You're a fake comic nerd, Derek, and a grifter. You just sell bits of YouTube merch in the shape of comics. And you're also a noisy, low IQ moron who can't answer simple questions without melting down. Is that about the right description of the situation, Derek? Have I got that right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. How tall are you? How much do you weigh? What's your shoe size?
What?
Where was your grandparents' country of origin, huh?
Are you serious? Okay. Well, you've had me on this stream for 6 hours already. I'm tired and I have to wake up early in the morning. So I'm gonna...
Oh, I see. Running away, huh? Running away. Y'all gonna bounce now. Y'all gonna run off like a pussy, huh?
Listen, as soon as I cut the feed, the first thing you're going to do anyway is carry on streaming on your own, shout and bark, and celebrate to your moronic subscribers that you've had some kind of fictional huge win, and generally lose your mind in public, live, right?
That's not anything I would personally do, not the kind of thing I'm even known to do. I'm not that kind of person.
Right, cool. Good night, idiot.
And another thing, this white bread motherfucker saw light. I'm a grifter, you're a grifter. Y'all read some amazing bullshit. You divorced ass, white as fuck. I bet you're overweight, motherfucker. Look at me, look at me. Look at my fucking arm. I'm a strong man.
Paul, son, what's that? I ain't sure, Cletus. Maybe it's some kind of horribly deformed bear with rabies or something.
Born escape gorilla.
Anyway, that was the clip.
My God.
Fantastic.
I guess thanks, Ethan Van Sciver, because I'm pretty sure he paid for that one.
Yeah.
God damn, dude. If you guys aren't familiar with what that is referencing, we could take a quick look here.
You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right?
Let's talk about. Go back to ISOM. What about it? Are you asking? What specific?
Wait. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15,
action?
right?
What specific action are you asking? Pretending? No. I'm gonna get stuck on this one. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right? Are you what? Let's talk about ISOM. You just asked me a question. Let's quit moving the goalposts. What specifically about the?
There are plenty of people that don't know who Spider-Man is. Dipshit.
Suffering Steve Ditko. How can you not?
There's that, yeah, and then here's another one that was also pretty good.
What's the problem with the new legacy characters though? Because legacy characters are a comic book tradition.
New legacy character. What do you mean new legacy character? Are
You
you talking
understand-
about knockoff versions? Is that what you're referring to?
Okay, so you understand what a legacy character is, right?
Yes, I'm asking you for clarification. Can you answer what the question I just had?
Well, I'm trying to understand how you are asking what a legacy character is. A legacy character is simply
I
a
am
character.
saying, what do you mean by new legacy character? If they're a legacy character, they wouldn't be new.
What? No.
So yeah, there's more, but yeah, well, it's wow. That makes
so many
pretty
clips
good.
in that debate. So many.
Right.
So
I mean,
that
I
just
think it's
reminds me
cool.
of there's a comedian, Reggie Watts, like 10 years ago he did a TED talk and he talks for like 10 minutes but he never says anything, but he never stops talking, and it's just word salad said with such confidence that you're like, is he going no. Absolutely not.
That's it.
Yeah, I wish I could remember which I've seen that's the sort of thing that Eric does in real life. I've seen parodied in sort of when people are making fun of politicians and things. But what it reminded me of, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Red Dwarf.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's an episode early on in that series where the computer Holly the idea is he's pretending to be cleverer than he is. And apparently he's getting all his information from the Junior Science Encyclopedia. And there's a question they ask him to prove that he's not. And then you see the book just come up into shot. And I'm just thinking, that's exactly what he was doing in that Spider-Man debacle.
Yeah. Come on, chat. Come on, chat.
It's
But yeah, does he debate anymore? Because none of the others do they? None of the others.
I saw he talked to a couple of guys and did like a couple of much, shorter and just, dumber debates basically after that. But I mean, for a guy that used to be, the debate guy when it came to the Fandom Menace, right? And like he would challenge pretty much anybody that said anything negative about him or criticized him. Like, you want to come on and talk about, do it with me when I made a video. And I turned it on him. I said, why don't you come on my show and prove that you know anything about comic books? And he didn't want to do it.
Gee whiz, I wonder why.
That's the difference, I think, between the political right-wing grifter and even, I know that you guys will know that I've delved into the flat earth conspiracy nuts. They will happily debate all day long. But in our media sphere, they don't debate. They only go to safe places. They'll go, like Piers Morgan will have Drinker and Nerdrotic on because they know that nobody knows their sort of pre-locked arguments.
We see what happens when Drinker, goes on somewhere that's even a friendly stream and is unprepared for a question like this.
There's a reason people like in the West are starting to draw more and more towards Korean or Japanese filmmaking. It's precisely because it's a bit different from what we get. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, what is the most recent Japanese film or at least entertainment that
you enjoyed so far?
What am I thinking of? See, a lot of them would be older ones, like Old Boy, for example. I really enjoyed that one. I know it's not Japanese, but yeah, probably stuff like that. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I really like that, and it's like Chinese, I think. But yeah, like it's
Everything Everywhere All at Once, Parasite,
He set himself up with that claim and then couldn't even back it up. That's how fucking terrible he is.
Squid Game. I mean, it's like it's right there.
Yeah. It's all right there. It just couldn't.
Well, is it Godzilla -1?
Yeah. Well, Godzilla -1 would actually be a correct answer.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, I think that interview was pre-Godzilla -1.
It was.
But before or after that, his terrible review of the trailer for Godzilla versus Kong, where he was making bizarre claims that didn't happen in the film.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the one where, like, because Godzilla's power was pink, they were like, "Oh, they made him."
No, that was the more recent one, but yeah,
that was Godzilla X Kong.
His problem with Godzilla versus King Kong was there's one point where they're shipping Kong on a barge, and he was
the chains.
Because he was in chains, he was being shipped to America, and it was allegorical for slavery. Whereas in the actual film, he's not going to America at all. And so this is why you don't review a film based on a trailer,
right? And yet he continues
to comment on the trailer.
To change the titles of his videos later on, whenever, like for Prey, it was an infamous one where it was like how not to do a remake or sequel or whatever it was, and then the movie comes out and everybody's like, "Oh, that's a fucking great movie," and then he just changes the title to trailer review or something like that.
Trailer reaction. It's like,
man, I remember the hate surrounding that one of like, how is this girl gonna beat this? When she's not a jacked muscle man, and you're like, the whole plot of the first one is being jacked army man didn't help.
Yeah,
look, if you like skinny old Danny Glover beating some predators in Predator 2, you should be able to just he was too old for this way back then, right?
And this is where it exposes that it is a grift, because I believe Drinker when he says he loves The Predator, the first film. I think that's true. I think he's probably watched it a lot of times because it's perfectly in his wheelhouse. So for him to then disingenuously say, "Oh, well, all these big tough guys couldn't beat the Predator, how's she going to?" knowing how that film ends means he's lying to an audience who haven't seen the original film.
I agree with this. I just finally saw this recently and it was I thought it was an excellent movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Okay, it doesn't thrill me. But
I like it.
Godzilla -1 is fantastic.
The MonsterVerse is turning into lightheartedly. It's turning into Fast and Furious for me.
Yeah, a little bit.
See that, yeah.
Enjoyable popcorn flicks, but don't let that distract you from the fact that Hector's going to be running Civics with spoon engines.
Dumb, but I don't think it's like quite to the depths of dumb that Fast and Furious has gotten, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Listen, my theory is that we just need to mix them all together and make a super movie. Like, come on.
That's probably where we're headed anyway. To be honest, like
the Fast and Furious crew has to steal some secret project, and inside it's the Allspark, and then Dom merges with his Charger, and then he
flies off of a ramp. Toretto gets swapped by King Kong.
Yeah, that they could do it, and then bring in Rom the Space Knight. Because why not?
We need Dom driving Optimus Prime. That's all we need.
Exactly.
Allspark is in the.
Well, no, wouldn't they be robbing Optimus Prime?
No, they'd
to start, but they'd end up friends, and then they'd go to space,
like The Rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have Optimus Prime be like, just a badass as The Rock was in his first Fast and Furious movie. He was just like, I don't give a fuck, drop bombs and shit. Anyway, how do you guys feel about the MCU?
Yeah. So we're known for Star Wars, but myself, I'm a massive Marvel, massive DC. also non-Marvel DC comics as well. I with the MCU, I have a weird, because I put out the hot take that, and I don't even consider a hot take. I was like, Wolverine Deadpool is worse written than The Acolyte. I'll say that with my full chest. I enjoyed it. I just don't think it was written very well. I loved the chemistry between the two characters, and they had a lot of fun. And I love seeing, this Fox, universe that's dying to come back, and I love all of that stuff. To me, it felt a lot like watching the Venom movie, where like Eddie and Venom together, that was gold, but in an aggressively mid film. That's how I felt about it.
You brought up something interesting. So like I went to the movie theater and I absolutely had so much fun with Deadpool and Wolverine. Then it comes to Disney Plus, and I show it to my kids because I'm a terrible parent. But I show it to my kids, and I'm rewatching it, and like we're getting to the part where it's like he's a car dealer, and I'm like, oh, I don't really remember this. This is kind of lame. It just doesn't. Like it's fun on the initial watch, but I did notice it's losing a bit already for me.
Well, I think
Hugh Jackman's still incredible in it.
It's a comedy film disguised as a superhero movie. I think, and noticing there's some very subtle and not so subtle nods to planes, trains, and automobiles in there. I think that's what they were making. I think Ryan Reynolds, because he's an admitted John Candy fan, he puts John Candy references in all his movies, and there's a couple of very noticeable ones in this and a couple of not so noticeable ones, and but this is not a superhero film. It's not a Marvel comic movie. It's essentially a planes, trains, and automobiles inspired comedy film.
Well, an argument can be made that's kind of how the MCU keeps itself relevant, though. Instead of just making superhero movies, it usually tries to find another thing to latch onto, like how the biggest other example I think of is the first Ant-Man movie. It's a heist movie. The Hams have superheroes in it.
The reason I brought up the MCU was I wanted to kind of steer into this other topic we hadn't got to yet. That being about Justin Baldoni. This guy that's embroiled in legal stuff with Blake Lively. His lawyer claiming that the character of Nice Pool is actually based on Justin Baldoni. Like his lawyer is claiming that. And then I've got some, clips from Deadpool and Wolverine that we can look at to kind of, that supposedly, I guess, might support that. But we talk about that and see, you guys think about it. Here's this first one.
Yeah.
What's up? Yeah, cough force. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I was just gonna say that some of the evidence I've seen kind of enforcing it. So like in the movie, I haven't actually looked, but in the movie, apparently Ryan Reynolds plays Nice Pool, but he's credited as Gordon Reynolds when he plays Nice Pool. Yeah. And then in Blake Lively movie Ends With Us.
So yeah, check this
out. Anyways.
Oh, I'm Deadpool. And I guess you're Deadpool too. But in here, everybody calls me Nice Pool. Oh my goodness, wait till you see Lady Pool. She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and can't even tell. I don't think you're supposed to say that.
So in some of the dispute between Blake Lively and this Justin Baldoni fucking guy, allegedly, apparently he had made comments about her weight and stuff like that, and or size, because of it's really creepy, weird shit that apparently he might be lying about, because he said that he was supposed to pick her up for a scene and he was worried about how much she weighed, which apparently there's not a scene where he picks her up like that.
Apparently she was pregnant while they were filming, so or recently had a baby. Actually, I think it was recently had a baby.
How weak is he if he's worried about maybe a few pounds that she might be different or something like that? Like, I mean, if you can pick up a grown woman, you can pick up a grown woman that weighs a few more pounds, But anyway, apparently that maybe didn't happen. Then there's this.
Yeah, they're crazy. They will chop you up into 1,000 pieces and hide you all over the void. I'd be fighting alongside them, but my calling is to one day host a podcast that monetizes the women's movement.
Which apparently Justin Baldoni does have a podcast.
Yeah.
women's rights and stuff like that. I don't know.
Hey, cowboy, my eyes are up here. I know it's tempting. I look at it too sometimes.
Listen, I feel like if you're kind of a jackass and say stupid stuff to people, that stuff might make it into their art later on, and I think that's just regular. I mean, I couldn't tell you whether it is true or isn't true, but I would be shocked if someone who says weird stuff like that, if she didn't go home, tell her husband about it, and be like, "Ew, what a creep, an idiot," and then be like, "Oh, yeah." Like I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I mean, if you do accept that well, okay, so like this, his denials of all of the things that she's alleged about him and working together and stuff, if his denials were correct, right, then this would be impossible, basically based on the timeline. But like by his lawyer coming out and saying this, it's in a way kind of saying that the timeline does match up, that they could have done this in the movie. They could have added this into the movie, somewhat last minute or whatever, or changed some lines. Who knows if Nice Pool already existed or if they, wrote them specifically to be, you know what I mean? But
well, this is a very old libel trick that if you're writing a character based on a real person, there's certain things you have to do to make it sure that it's not identifiable as that person. And the one thing you do is you include stuff that they really did do. And then you include stuff that they didn't do that is so horrible that if somebody comes forward and says, "Oh, that character's based on me," then the writer can say, or other people who read it will say, "The character that mugs old ladies is based on you. You mug old ladies." It's a very old libel trick. And for some reason, this lawyer clearly hasn't heard of it.
His lawyer's like, "Yeah, did you see the movie, man? Because I don't know that I would want to claim my client was this guy."
Yeah, exactly.
Process their childhood
It's
trauma.
a
They'd go on one heck of a healing journey.
Apparently talks like that a lot, the real guy. I don't know. Sorry, Bob, what?
I was just saying, it's a hell of a self-confession, honestly. Because as I was saying before, so like Ryan Reynolds is credited as Gordon Reynolds when he plays Nice Pool, but apparently Gordon Reynolds gets a special thanks in the Ends With Us movie, which is another thing where it's like, it makes me wonder. Like, I don't really think Nice Pool was based on him, but maybe. But the fact that they're saying, "Oh, it was based on him," it's like, it's a self-confession, dude.
So maybe got
don't
two
do
more
that.
clips here to just bring it home, and we can kind of decide what we think here.
She never said that.
This one doesn't come until the very last second here.
You are so mean. My brain could taste your fingers, and they tasted like hate. And where in God's name is the intimacy coordinator?
We're the intimacy coordinator, which is a big issue with that.
No.
And then there's this, which like this last one, you kind of have to already be leaning towards, okay, maybe it really was written about him, it's supposed to be him, because then if you go along with that, then this will seal it for you, because everybody should be aware who played Lady Pool in.
Hey!
And who?
Oh my god! Oh my!
Hey! Where are we stopping?
So there's the evidence at hand, folks.
That's funny.
That little bit there at the end is kind of, the more I learn about this, more I'm like, maybe Nice Pool was meant to troll him.
I just love the self-owns. It's great.
Yeah.
Like, yep, that's my guy. And if you've looked into this stuff at all, by the way, the PR firm that Johnny Depp hired to wage a fucking PR, just onslaught against Amber Heard, it's the same exact PR firm that's doing the same thing, trying to do the same thing against Blake Lively, but she seems to have, been ahead of this stuff and gotten a lot of receipts, and it doesn't seem to be working quite as well as it did for Amber Heard. But yeah, I mean, like the women that run this PR firm, there's texts out there, them talking about how easy it is to get people to believe the bullshit that they're pushing and stuff like that. So it's like, it's just pretty clearly, cynically, that.
Yeah. And it wasn't like the agent was like the sister of the person at the PR firm, and like there's a lot of weird stuff going on with that.
Yeah, a lot of weird shit.
I also want to know how you prove a case of libel when you have to prove that the libel is being directed at you.
Well, this is the other thing about the libel trick I was talking about. Unless the character is easily identifiable as the person they're supposed to be, it fails. If somebody who doesn't know that person but knows of them doesn't recognize them within the text, like if somebody who knows him, or if somebody who is aware of him watches the film and says, "Oh, that's a lot like this person," then they have a case. But I don't think it's there.
Yeah, I didn't know
It's
who
also
Balboni was.
it's also worth noting it is a civil case, so it's not like you have to prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt. This has to be 51-49 essentially. Person thinks, I think more likely it was. Then there's a case.
I mean, what are they going to do in court? Show the clips that Dane just showed and say he does that? That's exactly the sort of thing that he would say.
That was an early thumbnail before we got new news. So,
also to everyone in the chat, I do plan to rewatch Deadpool and Wolverine, and again, I was just saying it contains a lot of kind of the Marvel nonsense. Like it doesn't have the same heart.
Bully you, man. Stand by your shit. Don't let them bully you in chat.
I do think that Deadpool and Wolverine did what it needed to do.
Yeah,
but what it needed to do wasn't be the savior of the MCU.
No,
and it's not as if all Marvel films are going to be suddenly be R-rated comedies in the same vein.
Yeah.
That's never been the plan.
I mean, it almost seems like multiverse stuff where you're, but not just multiverse stuff, but stuff where you're like using characters from, with the, I guess the exception of Doctor Strange 2, characters from other timelines or whatever realities are the ones that kind of do the best. But then, of course, these chuds compare those to everything else. They compare Shang-Chi during COVID to, Captain America movie. You know what I mean? As if really compare those two characters when Captain America's had household recognition for decades and Shang-Chi just hasn't. But the movie still did really well considering COVID and everything.
Yeah, I also think that the MCU is in a weird spot that it was in phase 1, where nothing was set up. Right? We everyone looks back at the Infinity Saga as if it was a thing that was clearly going to be the best thing in the world. But they had to do 20 plus films before they got to Infinity War, and now we're in a spot where that saga is over.
Over my shoulder there, that's the story of Marvel Studios. It's a beautiful 2-volume book. They're you're reading that, you going back through it, and of course I kept up with a lot of stuff as it was happening, and then there's also stuff that I didn't know about at all, production stuff. You realize how much of an uphill battle they truly fucking had, from the beginning, and that I guess by the time they got to the, Infinity War and Endgame, they set the machine in motion that it was almost, it would have been hard to not knock it out of the park, or at least, hit a triple. I think that's
I think it did what was necessary, because now doing the math, the F word is used 3.5 times on average in every MCU movie.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Did what
and we're in the setup phase. So I'm eagerly waiting and anticipating the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. I think that's going to be huge for the MCU. But again, we're still in this transitional period coming off of the conclusion of the Infinity Saga, that not every movie is gonna hit the same as those conclusions, right? And if you make as many movies as the MCU does, some are gonna miss. It's not.
I mean,
that's the thing. They're not. It's not just a franchise of movies. It is a studio, and what studio has ever made every movie a big success? Right? That's.
I mean, they produced plenty of mid movies before the Infinity Saga. I mean, Thor 1 and 2, not amazing, guys. Let's be serious.
Yeah, it's weird because it seemed as like a whole like blob now. So like I know people talk about the MCU comedy, and there are certain bits that are, but like that varies greatly film to film, like the style of it. And I don't know, it just feels like people forgot that at one point in time, that the reason the MCU is what it is because they couldn't sell those characters because nobody wanted them. They were offered to Sony, and the CEO of Sony was like, "Who cares about any of these people but Spider-Man?"
Yeah,
that's literally what he said. Like, no one cared about these characters, so they got to start a brand new narrative that you got to be drawn into. And you've been watching these since 2008, and it's not going to be the same as it felt 20 years ago. I'm sorry.
No, they were trying to sell these characters. Then Kevin Feige decided to make a movie studio, and he was like, "What characters do we have left?" And he went, "Oh shit, we have the classic Avengers. Let's do that." And it worked.
And then everybody wanted the characters back.
Yes.
people just listen to garbage content. You know, it's like a lot of people that aren't familiar with the comics or the characters at all or anything, which is like, it's fine. But just, I feel like there's an insecurity about not knowing stuff that drives a lot of these people that buy into that content because they feel like they want to have an opinion on it without actually doing any of the fucking work of, you know, becoming familiar with the media or the comics or whatever. So it's like they just watch the easiest thing that can tell them, you know, what they think is a valid fucking take, right? And they end up watching guys like this.
How do you do, fellow kids?
It's a huge disservice to media literacy entirely, because I'm not even like, I was a huge comic fan during Uncanny X-Men, and like I stopped with all new X-Men, but like I wasn't really a huge comic book reader across the board, but I still follow these movies and I still kind of consume them and judge them through my own lens, you know. And you can do that just like with Star Wars. You don't have to be lore masters to have an opinion on these movies.
Oh, easy to say when you're a lore master. You know?
Yeah, the thing is just like, just don't claim that you're a lore master when you say something like that. That's all I care about.
Well,
Like the
we
fact
were
that
not
we
shaming Eric
lost.
July for not knowing what Spider-Man's first appearance is. We're fucking shaming him for not knowing it and presenting himself as a comic book expert, right?
We're talking about Spider-Man's origin specifically many times and not knowing that book.
I'm just hoping that we can get away from the MCUification of comic book characters. Like, I mean,
What do you mean by that? Like,
so now anytime you have like, we're playing Marvel Rivals, right? And Iron Man is basically doing a Robert Downey Jr. impression for the character.
Great.
And that sort of thing, it feels weird, you know what I mean? Like, I'm hoping we can kind of separate them again.
I guess the desire to do that because like they're wanting their characters to be as iconic as, I mean, like when you think of Superman, you think of certain set of characteristics, right? Like and so in that way I can kind of see wanting Iron Man to be the same thing, Spider-Man. But if it's just like, I guess the thing is that RDJ did such a specific thing that it's going to be clear whenever they're trying to even do it a slight variation on it, right?
Well, I think the first Spider-Man game did a really good job of setting it up to be distinct from the MCU version. And
true, that's a really good game.
Until they went back and put a new face on Peter Parker,
to
make him look like Tom Holland for some bizarre reason.
I do think that kind of osmosis is presenting itself a lot more with RDJ than any other character, because even Hawkeye in Rivals doesn't sound anything like Renner or like,
because I mean
Thor.
before RDJ came and put his stamp on it, Tony Stark was not a very well defined character. Like, I mean, he had certain things about him, like he was the billionaire, he was the playboy, he was the, you know, at one point alcoholic, all that stuff, but like he didn't have such a specific charming personality. He was kind of just a dickhead, you know, like or somebody that was hard to connect to, and RDJ is the one that put a face on it that it made audiences go, okay, I can actually connect with this dickhead playboy billionaire now, right?
I almost feel like people aren't doing an impression of Iron Man; they're doing an impression of RDJ all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, how's your impression of Iron Man? Yeah, sure. whatever you say.
He's doing an impression of himself now at this point. Like, I don't, he became Tony Stark and never looked back.
I do an impression of Hobbs. Oh, you mean The Rock?
Hobbs. Yeah.
I'm just bitter that Earth's Mightiest Heroes was canceled and replaced with Avengers Assemble.
I tried to like Earth's Assemble, and it just is not. No. Didn't work after EMH. I don't know why they don't bring that back. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's maybe not as much nostalgia, but there's a good amount that would carry over to do like an X-Men 97 kind of thing with Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
I agree. We were hyped when they brought back Young Justice after its cancellation every time.
Well, I'm surprised they haven't brought back the 90s Spider-Man and have gone in a different direction. In a way, I'm glad they have, because it's giving something new rather than appealing to the retro fan base. But that show ended a bit weird. So
yeah, it ended cliffhanger-ish. It was weird.
One of my hot takes on alternative history is, like, you know how the animated series of X-Men's motif survived the times, and now on Miss Marvel, mutants is just that. I kind of like resent that the Spider-Man cartoon did not survive in the same way, in that like the Raimi films didn't move forward with the
Well, I think the problem there was that Spider-Man theme incorporated the 60s Spider-Man theme into it. So I think it was already sort of borrowing somebody else's homework.
And it's the one that whatever the one is that comes out and really burrows into the culture, right? So like X-Men, that came out like right after the 90s relaunch or the launch of the X-Men Adjectiveless X-Men book. Then you had X-Force and all the success that was going on with that stuff at the time, preceding all of the failures and the bankruptcy and everything. But anyway, so like that was a moment in time that, like, for people generally, my age and stuff, it left a mark, so, and then, of course we go on to make memes out of it and show clips and stuff like that, and it becomes something other people are aware of. And then, by the time you make an X-Men 97, it's just kind of like that is the animated X-Men, right? But like, the X-Men movies didn't really use the kind of the music theme or anything like that. Obviously they did their own very specific thing.
They were terrified of comics.
Yeah,
true.
Well, it's the same when they did 89. When they did 89 Batman, they really wanted to get away from 60s Batman, and so that theme was obviously ignored. But a lot of people still associate that 60s TV show theme with Batman to this day.
Well, to be fair, when Marvel owns X-Men now, like I was talking about with Miss Marvel, the theme, they're using the same theme now. So it's like maybe Fox didn't like that kind of riff, but I like that. Like even in Multiverse of Madness, when Xavier comes in, it's just that small touch. I love that so much. I'm excited for the X-Men, honestly.
Same. I mean, so are you guys hoping that they kind of? I feel like maybe this is not as popular an opinion, but like I love what Hugh Jackman did. I appreciate Hugh Jackman. I appreciate the Foxmen, as I call them, for what they were, despite a lot of half-assing when it come to anything besides Wolverine, Professor X, and Magneto. They just didn't give a shit. But they did those three characters usually pretty exceptionally well.
Some of the stuff they did with Magneto was a bit questionable.
Okay. But I'm hoping that we get a fresh, like a clean break, and I hope that Hugh Jackman is not coming back. I hope that we get a new Wolverine. I hope that we get new everybody. I was actually disappointed whenever Multiverse of Madness came out and it was Patrick Stewart. I was like, oh man, I mean, it was torn because it's like, obviously, fuck yeah, Patrick Stewart as Professor X in the fucking yellow floaty chair. But at the same time, like, can we please move past the Foxmen and the stuff that's connected to Bryan Singer and all that? What do you guys think?
I think we're in a space with Wolverine that is very similar to a problem we're having in Star Wars, which is our nostalgic connection to Mark Hamill. I think a lot of fans will clamor for a continued story on Luke Skywalker, but there's this kind of intangible rift between fans about whether they should recast him, or stick to deep fakes of Mark Hamill.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants, I think, right?
Yeah, I think he should be recast. I think Sebastian Stan should play him, or even the person that played Luke.
It's so obvious.
Or the person that played Luke in the Book of Boba Fett when he was training Grogu.
Yeah, they got a guy that looked exactly like young Mark Hamill, and then deep faked old Mark Hamill on top of him. Which I love Mark Hamill. It's just weird.
So I feel the same way with Wolverine.
And it's not going to happen probably because of the chuds, but like Daphne Keene is Wolverine.
Dude,
she takes over the
I like that option too. I like that
Daphne
option too.
Keene, let's bring in Laura Kinney. Let's leave Logan alone for a little bit, because Hugh Jackman did a great job. He did his own take. It's not comic accurate, but he did his own take. He did a fantastic job. Let's leave Logan alone. Let's give Laura Kinney some time.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm on board with Laura Kinney. I'm on board with recasting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more willing to forgive that than Hugh Jackman. And just like, I don't know, I'd like to see a whole kind of fresh take that obviously adheres to the comics a little bit more, and just gives, like, I'm a big Wolverine guy. Like, Wolverine's my fucking guy. All right. I am literally actually right now wearing a fucking Wolverine shirt, as I do a lot of it.
Sick shirt. But
I don't want to see him in the first several movies, maybe 3 movies. Maybe you do like a post-credit stinger where you like hear the claws pop, or you see him, or what I mean, something like that. But otherwise, I set up the X-Men. There's so many fucking amazing characters in the X-Men that just got passed over or shit on in the Foxmen movies.
Yeah. It felt like Fox treated the X-Men like a vehicle for Wolverine movies. And it's like, you could do Wolverine movies and do X-Men stories, because there's so many great characters in the X-Men. I mean, Storm got overshadowed so much, and she's like a fantastic.
Well, it was Wolverine vehicles until they decided, hey, let's make Mystique the hero.
Well, that is just because Jennifer Lawrence's star took off.
She happened to get famous. They're like, well, we're gonna fucking milk it.
It's like, dude, she's not this big of an X-Men. Stop it, guys.
Let's make every movie about how she becomes to terms with looking like her blue self, and then just not have her do that anymore.
And then the last movie even have her in her blue form.
Yes.
Let's give Magneto a family in between every film so that we can kill them all.
Yes. To be fair, that did happen.
Leave this man alone.
To be fair, it is inspired by comic stuff, but yeah, it's in the movies. It did come off a little like, we don't even get to see this family. They're just like dead, Like,
Well, my view with X-Men, if you're doing a new film, would be to start with the villain and work out what characters you would need to defeat that villain in what combination, and go from there, regardless of who it means leaving out or including. Because I know when they made the first film, all they had was a list of how much each character would cost to bring to the screen, and it was sort of working out the right combination to get the most for their money, which obviously isn't ideal, but that's why the cast doesn't really interact with the villain correctly until they sort of make it work in the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
So that's what I would want to see.
And don't do the thing where it feels like the filmmakers Google iconic storylines and then they go, let's do Dark Phoenix again. And you're like, no.
God, man.
Dark Phoenix is an amazing story, but they need to retire it. They can't do it. Just stop it.
Then with Dark Phoenix, and then Warner Brothers with the Death of Superman. Fucking Christ, man! They're literally, you can see him looking at the top selling books and going, "Yep, let's do that again."
I've been saying this.
Superman and Lois earned it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great show.
I haven't gotten that far.
I've been saying this since the first trailers came out for Deadpool and Wolverine. I think that they should do something with Mojo.
That would be
because like it also ties into like the Shadow King, Legion, like the stuff
Mojo
that
would have
they've
made
been
more
setting up.
sense for the villain, I think, than Cassandra Nova in some ways. You know what I mean? But then
Mhm.
they might have needed to fill out the Mojo verse more and all that, and it might have just been a bunch of extra shit.
They might want to hold back Shadow King for something bigger because you could do a lot
Yeah.
of Shadow King. He is a terrifying villain if you want to break
I
it
thought they
down.
had Taylor Swift for Dazzler.
Well,
I'm pumped.
But I'm with Ryan. Introduce some villains, but specifically, we can start out with having Mystique and having Rogue still being a villain at the time. We could have her run up on Carol Danvers. That would be a great starting place for the character. And like
Carol Danvers, a really fucking what else is there to do with her? After a certain point in the movies, right? She's super powerful.
I hate to admit the only reason I'd be against it is because I know the Chuds would love it.
Would they?
Yeah.
They would find something to hate about it, though.
True.
Rogue didn't have short hair in the movie like she did in the comics when she.
Oh my god.
Like that. Yeah. Oh, that's.
I mean,
good.
you know what their complaint about Rogue would be in the movies. I mean, if it's not somebody with an ass like Kim Kardashian, they're not going to be interested.
Yeah. And keep that reference in mind for the end of the stream. I
wanted to ask, what did you guys think of the James Gunn Superman trailer? Because that's had an interesting response from the Chads as well.
I loved it. I was like, I feel hopeful and uplifted. What is this? This is crazy. And plus they're starting out in a living and breathing universe, that already has some established people. Mr. Terrific looked terrific. I'm actually quite hopeful. I also enjoyed Creature Commandos. I thought how it ended, I thought was pretty cool. I'm hopeful for James Gunn.
I was exhaled with joy for a moment in that trailer the first time I saw it, which I haven't done in, I don't know, a decade or more. So sorry.
Dude,
I was pleasantly surprised with how bright and vibrant the trailer looked. I had some kind of trepidation with how I was personally imposing a Guardians of the Galaxy type of feeling on the trailer, because that's how it felt to me with Guy Gardner and like Mr. Terrific and Hawkgirl showing up, and like it just felt like, we were getting, because it's James Gunn. That might be a personal issue, but that's why I'm kind of like, on the fence with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I do want them to do a really good Superman movie, so I'm hopeful.
Listen, they made Guy Gardner look like Guy Gardner, which
true.
He is just he looks so cheesy and stuff, which is great. That's what we needed to do, and so it showed me.
And we wanted Fillion to be a Green Lantern for like decades.
Yeah. That one look that we get to see him in the trailer is also just like, man, that's a dickhead right there.
Right? I hate him already.
I hate him. Yeah.
No, I mean the Chud reaction to that is kind of funny. They talk about how Guy Gardner. Oh my God, look what they're doing to the white man. It's like, oh my God, you guys are ridiculous. It's Guy Gardner.
Will, I don't know, Bob. Did you want to talk about Ultimate Wolverine at all? I mean, before we get out of here, or do you just want to call it, or are you guys going to go a little longer?
I'm good with calling it. I'm getting a little tired, but yeah. Ultimate Wolverine's good. I'll definitely be covering on my next solo stream, which will be a week from tomorrow.
Oh, I might cover it tomorrow then, since you're not going to be streaming. But yeah, it's good and fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah,
it's an origin for Wolverine, so wouldn't expect anything else. Yeah, do you guys got anything you want to promote, talk about before we get out of here?
Yeah, follow us on YouTube, Dyad in the Force. We go live every Tuesday and Friday. Friday is our main show, Dyad in the Force. We sometimes play games. We talk about current news in Star Wars. Tuesday is usually just a chill stream to hang out with everybody. Recently it's been for watch parties for Skeleton Crew. When it comes to that, watch Skeleton Crew. If you haven't watched it already, it's a fun, fantastic ride. You won't be disappointed unless you're a chud or a carpet nugget, as we say.
Carpet nugget, that's
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, in addition to the Diet in the Force channel, I have the Darth Chaco channel as well. And since TikTok is going away, probably be making a lot more content. And come play Marvel Rivals with us sometime.
Yeah.
Also, super stoked that we got a Venom Space Knight costume in Marvel Rivals. I was fist pumping the air because I love that little run.
Yeah, follow on Blue Sky too. The Democrats safe haven, as they call it.
Right. Or the echo chamber. Because we're not hearing Nazis say Nazi shit, so we're in an echo chamber.
Yeah,
that's what
social media companies following their terms of service.
I was just like, I just don't want to face the Nazis. And like, so you want an echo chamber? And like,
yeah,
what?
I guess so, man. If that's what it's called whenever there's no Nazis around, yeah, give me an echo chamber. Like,
I guess that's the final thought. Is there's a lot of people when it comes to Star Wars, they say why is it political now? Don't make Star Wars political. And it was always political, but the reason they didn't notice is because once upon a time, Nazis and fascism was just bad. Like we just knew it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a point that needed defending. It was just ubiquitous in the air, so no one considered it political. That was weird.
I mean, even some of the guys that like to complain about shit like that even had different takes at one point.
Okay, because I really dislike the fake geek thing and the poser nerd thing. That's not what we're about. We're about inclusiveness, and we want new people in. And if new people, spout off and make mistakes, hey, don't we all?
Miss old Gary.
Old Gary, come on back, old Gary. I don't know that we'll welcome you with open arms, but we won't be hostile to you. How about that?
Maybe I might be a little hostile.
I don't understand it.
It's not
I do have one thing to say though about Star Wars being political. I think you are wrong because I don't see how George Lucas, at the height of the Cold War, having grown up during the Cuban Missile Crisis, where nuclear weapons were threatening all life on Earth, and then you're saying that that's somehow connected to the weapon of mass destruction that can destroy a whole planet in Star Wars? I don't buy it.
I mean, literally, the first words in episode 1's opening crawl. What is it again? There's a trade dispute?
Yeah.
Well, before we sign out here, I just want to shout this out. So, my Star Trek co-host, Lindsay, you might have noticed my post where the Star Trek streams have been indefinitely postponed. So his dad has suffered an accident, and a couple days later, because he's out in Los Angeles, his house burned down. There's a GoFundMe. I just posted a link for it. I'm broke. I can't help them out. But the way I can help out is I can share this. So I'm just making sure people are aware.
Yeah.
If you have some money, please contribute.
Yeah,
definitely.
Element Pep, I was how far are we? 7 miles away from the fires.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Luckily, it hasn't spread too far south, but we're all safe.
Yeah, good.
That's good.
It was red skies and 28 days later for a couple of weeks.
And well, so you guys know, like that link that I sent you, you're welcome to hold on to that. That's a forever link to get into this studio. So if you see us live or whatever, and you have something you want to say, feel free to hop on. We want to kind of make it a wild card show, kind of like that, where just if a friend wants to hop on. And then if you want to make a plan to come on another time, let us know. We'll do that too.
Absolutely.
Definitely a pleasure talking with you fellas, and hopefully more people start to recognize the good stuff that you're doing over there. If you're, I don't know if I put your link in the description, but it will be in there after the stream is over. I'll put it in there. But definitely subscribe to Dyad in the Force. And yeah. And no, Star Wars isn't. Star Wars never.
We'd also like to extend in reverse or reciprocate that, because we do take live calls on our Friday show. So you guys can call in at any point.
I might want to get with you and see how you do that, because I've thought about doing call-ins before and wasn't quite sure the system to use. So we can talk about that off stream. But yeah, and just to reiterate the fact that Star Wars has never been political. Here's this.
You did something very interesting with Star Wars, if you think about it. The good guys are the rebels. They're using asymmetric warfare against a highly organized empire. I think we call those guys terrorists today. We call them Mujahideen, we call them Al-Qaeda.
When I did it, they were Viet Cong.
Exactly. So were you thinking of that at the time?
Yes.
So it was a very anti-authoritarian, very kind of 60s against the man kind of thing, nested deep inside of a fantasy.
Or a colonial, you know, we're fighting the largest empire in the world.
Right.
And we're just a bunch of hayseeds in coonskin hats that don't know nothing.
That's right.
And it was the same thing with the Vietnamese.
Yep.
The irony of that one is in both of those, the little guys won.
Right.
And the big, highly technical empire,
the English Empire, right?
The English Empire, the American Empire, lost.
Yeah.